Good Wednesday morning, Delaware Valley and beyond. Thanks for being with us. We truly appreciate you on this great Sports Wednesday. Summer unofficially right around the corner, Amy Fadul.
It is.
Can't wait for it. It is my favorite time of the year. Ray Dunn, how are you today?
Bonjour, comment allez-vous?
Way to go, Ray.
Well done, my friend.
Very, very well. Oh, take that, Amy Fadul. Wow. Wow. A haymaker thrown at 10:01 by our own Ray Dunn. I got to tip the cap to you.
Well
Golf
done.
clap. Very, very well done.
Well done. He does have that certain je ne sais quoi.
That was terrific. Way to go, Ray. All right, before we get into the stories of the day, you know what we have to look at first.
Now, the front page. The stories everyone's talking about. 97.5, The Fanatic.
It feels like it's the same headline almost every day, and don't you love it? The Phillies win, the Phillies win, the Phillies win. They improved to 35-14 with the 5-2 win over the World Series champion Texas Rangers. Phillies are now 20-8 at home. When you have that good of a record, though,
Wow.
You're going to find them. You're going to find some good splits, right, Abe? Ranger Suarez, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts, ties a career high. He improves to 9-0 with a 1.36 ERA. It was funny. Last night, he's about to get taken out, and I said, oh, let me see. A 1 earned run over 7 innings. Does that bring his ERA down, or does it actually go up? Because he's so low, but it did bring it down. He's down to a 1.36. Your first 4 hitters last night, Amy, and that is Schwarber, JT, Harper, and Bohm. They went 8 for 15, had all the 8 hits for the Phillies, scored 4 runs, and had 4 RBIs. Bryce Harper, he had that, quote, sound home run last night. Now, I was watching. My head was up when he took the swing, but when he swung and hit it, it was that sound that if you
crack.
had your head down, you're like, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, that crack.
Oh, he teed off dead center field. Awesome. Alec Bohm, he might be the best clutch hitter on this team right now. Sorry, Bryce Harper, but I think if you said that to Bryce Harper, he'd say, good.
Yeah,
let's get him. Let's include Stott. Let's include JT Realmuto. The more, the merrier. But Alec Bohm he has such confidence up at the plate, especially with runners on base. Just so much fun to watch right now. The Braves lost to the Cubs 4-3. I checked in on that game for a few innings last night. When I got there, I think were the Braves up 3-2? The Braves were up 3-2. Cubs came back and tied it. Cubs win it in 10. So the Braves, I can barely see them now. If we're looking over our shoulders, they're 6 games behind the Phillies. This is ridiculous. We're going to look up the magic number probably during the first or second break today, as soon as Ray's done his French lesson. Tonight, 6:40, Taijuan Walker versus Dave Dunning. Dunning is coming off the injured list. He had a shoulder problem. He's 3-2 on the year with over a 4 ERA. So it might be incumbent for the Phillies to climb on him early because he might be, struggling a little bit. After tonight, tomorrow, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Zach Wheeler will be on the mound for the Phillies. Eagles, OTAs today. I think it's the first time they're fully gathered in front of the media, so we might hear some things out of there. I don't know, a little bit of news. The more I looked into it, I really didn't put much stock into it. But Dolphins safety, I don't know if it's Javon. I think it's Javon Holland. He says he's happy that Vic Fangio is kind of out. He didn't really come out and say it that way. What he did was he sang the praises of their new defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, just saying it's a 180 and it's so good to have a good dude. Weaver is 43 years old, a lot younger. So he talked about relatability to the players and all that. It seems like there was a little discourse last year between the Dolphins' defensive players and Vic Fangio. Is it a big thing? I don't know. Like they're individuals. Maybe he comes here and, more people buy on. But I just thought it was something to mention. We'll see if there's any storylines that maybe Amy needs to hear coming out of like OTAs early part of the season. We know she hates the running game, so we're going to get into that a little bit more later. Sixers This question's popping into my mind now because the morning show has dug pretty deep on this about what they could, should, might do in this offseason. I'm going to ask Amy about the options, and we're not going to do the Paul George and LeBron James. We know all the options, but are they good enough? Is this a limited option offseason for the 76ers? Because when you look at it, I don't know that there's an awful lot out there. Like John Kincade described this morning, I can guarantee they're going to get an older guy that's breaking down. That's kind of all that's available. If you talk, the top three people you talk about are LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, and Paul George. They're all older. They've all had their injuries because they're older. So we'll take a closer look at that. I also want to take more of a look at the moves that Daryl Morey has made during his time as GM, both in Houston and here, and see what maybe you think of it, maybe some drafts, maybe some trades, different free agency, different things like that. On the national scene, oh, God, I hate this team. The Boston Celtics go up 1-0. They're down 3 with 27 seconds to go, and Indiana turns the ball over not once but twice in the final 27 seconds. Indiana, they had a couple of turnovers last night where I swear on my life, and this is totally against my belief, I was thinking, are they trying to throw this game?
Yeah, it looked so strange. It was that egregious.
It was horrible. And so they wind up losing 133-128 in overtime to the Boston Celtics. As I said, Indiana, 21 turnovers. Just not a good night for them at all. A game that I'm going to label that. I'm not going to say shoulda. I'm going to say coulda. Or not coulda. They shoulda.
Yeah,
they should have won that game, no doubt. All right, tonight in the NBA, you have a Western Conference Final. Game 1, Dallas at Minnesota. Looking forward to that. NHL, Eastern Conference Final. Florida Panthers are at the Rangers tonight. So that's what you got going on the front page today. So, Amy, what's new with you? We had a good conversation yesterday. You're going to leave us again tomorrow because you know what? You don't like us. But
I love you guys. It's
you'll
my
be back
favorite
on
place
Friday.
But I will be back on Friday, and you will not be here on
Yeah,
Friday.
no, I'm going to be cleaning the garage on Friday,
That's
listening
all right.
to you guys.
Well,
yeah.
we appreciate it. Ray and I'll be here on Friday. But, yeah, no, always good stuff. Good stuff yesterday, good conversations. We talked to Little Birds yesterday. Everybody obviously excited for the team to hit OTAs, and you never really know. I mean, you're not really looking for a lot, but you're just excited to see it. It just means football's closer.
It does. That's the coolest thing.
It is.
The coolest thing is that football's closer. I'm probably like most. I don't put a whole lot of stock in it. I'm not going to get excited if I hear, oh, my God, Cooper DeJean. Wow.
Looked great in those shells and shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who was he going against? Oh, well, it's the third wide receiver, but it doesn't matter. That third-string wide receiver isn't bad either. Like, I'm okay. I look for the big things. Like, are there, and I hate to say it, anybody tweak anything, any injuries, get away without any of that stuff. That's
see what
great.
kind of shape people show up in.
Right. Now, apparently there was a picture, I think the morning show was talking about it yesterday, of Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Where he came in all ripped up looking and stuff like that. I also have a question on that. John Kincade came up, and I got to talk to John about this a little bit to make sure. But John Kincade came on yesterday and said, people were down on Jordan Davis from last year. Do you know he ranked either 6th or 7th in the whole league at his position? And I looked and I go, who the hell made those rankings?
Yeah, who ranks them?
Mrs. Davis?
Yeah.
Mr. Davis? Like, what are we talking about
Other
here?
Georgia Bulldogs with the last name Davis?
Yeah, I don't know where that was from because, as I've said before, we saw his NFL body leave him against the Buffalo Bills,
He just
and
laid there.
we didn't hear from him for the rest of the season. So, how somebody can grade out that good, having only really played half the season, I don't know. But we'll talk about the younger kids and maybe what needs to be expected of them. But Amy, when I was growing up, and I think my brother-in-law started this. He's a little bit older than me, and when he and my sister started dating, I was like 6 years old. But he knew, and he was a tremendous athlete. He knew I was into sports and all that stuff. And he always would say to me, got to answer the call when it came to sports. You got to answer the call. And like it really, I followed his career. Like I was 6 watching him play football in college. And he was Division III MVP. Went to the Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl. Like he was that good. And always told me when it came to sports, man, you got to answer the call. Every time I saw him, every time he came to one of my games or when I was little growing up. It hit me last night. I'm watching this Phillies team, And Bryce Harper, the last time Ranger Suarez pitched, I think they only had one run through like 3 or 4, and Suarez was pitching like, yo, let's go, wake up, we got to get Rangers some runs.
Something.
Last night Ranger gives up 1 run, boom, Phillies come right back, score a couple of runs, take a 2-1 lead. This team, I swear, as much as any that I remember of recent memory, they answer the call. And I think it's one of their calling cards. All right, you score, we're scoring more. You do this, we're going to do it better. Your pitching's good, ours is better. Do you get that feeling with this team, man?
Yeah, it's like we've talked about it a little bit when Trey Turner went out, and that could have been something pretty detrimental. But it was almost like they all answered that call, to use your expression. They all picked each other up. Oh, okay, well, this guy's now, he was batting. He was on a tear. He was like 340.
Yeah.
Trey Turner was absolutely hitting
They
the
were
cover
talking
off the ball.
MVP.
I mean, he was having that type of start. And so it wasn't panic. It was, all right, we got this. Alec Boehm now is going to answer that call. And they kind of pick each other up. And I go back to something that Aaron Nola said after his most recent start. He said, it's almost like pick your poison.
Yeah.
Like what? Okay, so say you get to Aaron Nola. Say you ding him up a little bit. Okay, not great, but whatever. Our offense is going to pick us up, and then our bullpen is going to come in and hammer you. I think they have so much confidence in the other guy, and that's where you see it. And I think that's where you feel it. There is no doubt in that clubhouse about where those people are in the other one's minds, right? They all look around and be like, that guy's got me, that guy's got me, that guy's got me. So if I'm off or I'm not having the best day or I'm struggling, I'm good because I got everybody else here. I think you feel that there.
And, that's cool for a team to have. And we won't feel that as much as they will starting out, right? Because that's a locker room thing. That's a talk among themselves and all that. It's definitely crawled into my thinking pattern with this team. They got each other. They're going to answer the call. I see it. Bryce Harper, I've always felt it. I think we all have. You always felt it. Now we're watching. Bryce, in my opinion, Bryson Stott has grown into that. How many 2-strike pitch hits does he have through the last couple of years? It's amazing.
He led the league last year.
Yeah, and he's doing it again this year. And now Alec Boehm growing into that guy. And, JT Realmuto, he's hitting in the second spot since Trey Turner. He's hitting 280.
Yeah.
He's up to 280 now. Bryce Harper's up to 280. You're also doing this with 2 of your $100 million players hovering around the 200 batting average. Although Schwarber's at like 220, 225. He's okay. Had another single, had a double last night.
He's an on-base guy, too.
He
walks
is,
a lot.
yeah, walks a lot. You want to see Castellanos get straightened out. I think he will. I don't think he's a 200 hitter. We did talk about it yesterday. He's a 274 career. I don't think he's going to get that this year because of the way he started. I think he's going to hit 240 this year.
All right.
Yeah, and that means there's hot streaks coming up. So, Ray, when you look at this team, do you get that feeling? You got to answer the call. It was so funny how it hit me last night that when the Rangers go up 1-0 in the third, the Phillies come back with 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, boom, 2-1 lead. They just seem like that team to me.
Yeah, and I'm even thinking about when Hoffman struggles coming out of the pen. Okay, we go to Strom. Strom, that ball might have been hit hard, but guess what? You got the out, and you got out of that. They just have a number of guys you count on, whether it's in the pitching staff or whether it's in that lineup, that when things get bad for this team, even the losses, they feel like they are going to come back and win. I think their last 4 losses have been by a combined 5 runs. They're right there in every single game, and they've been right there in every single game pretty much since they came out of that first series. So I think you do have that feeling that every time something happens bad to this team, yeah, they'll find a way to respond. They'll find a way to answer back to this team because that's just the group they are.
I'm getting a little worried about Hoffman.
Are you?
I think not worried oh my God, he's not it. Worried in that I think a little bit of a rough string is upon him.
Right now?
Yeah, so my thinking, last night when Jeff Hoffman gets brought in by Rob Thompson, I was kind of I think he's struggling a little bit. And then, boom, he gives up the home run. And I was like, okay, you got him out of there. Strom gets you the out, and then you go to Alvarado. But I'm like, yeah, okay. I hope. Now, we know Rob Thompson is very hard-headed, I would say. Right? His way is the way he's going to go, and that's okay.
He's consistent.
Okay, let's call it that. If I'm Rob Thompson right now, and that's just me, and maybe I'm seeing something different, Jeff Hoffman is going to get some not as important innings coming up because I just feel
Not as high leverage.
yeah, I feel a little dip coming with him, and I feel horrible saying this next. All right, I'll ask you first, Ray. You popped up your head. Do you feel the same way I do? Like I just feel like Hoffman's in for a little bit of a rough period, which every pitcher goes through during a season.
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
it's coming.
a guy that had a sub-1 ERA going into last night might be due for a little bit of regression in that regard. The question I would pose back to you, if you're saying you want a little bit lower leverage situations, who's the righty you're going to in that high leverage situation if it's not Hoffman?
Well, you have some. I mean, Kirkering. Is your confidence back in Sir Anthony Dominguez? Does it have to be situational? I mean, can you throw Strom in there even if you have a string of right-handed hitters coming up? I don't know. But, I mean, that's just a little something in my head. Like I said, it's not anything major. I just feel like something's coming, and I'm more of a look ahead and don't let it happen before you get full in and it's full-blown happening. And then I started to get the really sickening feeling, but it was early in the game. I think Ranger Suarez is due to get tagged a little bit coming up.
I thought you were going to say that, and no.
And then he kept striking people out.
Exactly. He had 5 strikeouts through 2.
Yeah, he had 10 strikeouts through 108 pitches. Look, there's no evidence on my side.
Nope.
I'm just saying I hope he's not coming into a little bit of
No,
a –
he's
because it's
not.
going to happen. Like, he's not going to finish the season with a below, like, 150 ERA or it's probably under a 2 ERA. It's going to get up there a little bit.
Might be a little bit around 2.
Yeah, but you can't argue with the way the pitching staff has been handled. What was the argument yesterday, Ray? We had a caller saying you can't have Strom being the first guy out of the bullpen. And you're like, oh, yeah, he only has this sub-1 ERA.
Yeah, sub-1 ERA, and now with the out yesterday, it's 19 consecutive scoreless innings.
Is that what it is?
For him? Yeah.
Yeah, but he can't be first.
No.
He can
And
be second.
He's not. He's having the great stretch. He's not your first option. Unless you're talking about in order of them showing up in the game, yeah, maybe he comes out of the bullpen first. But I know, I think the guy that closed out last night with the pitch that bounced and got a guy to swing at it probably is number 1 out of that bullpen.
Yeah.
He's pick one.
He's the closer now, I think.
He's taking the job over.
Yeah, and if Hoffman is doing what I think is going to have like a little bit of a downslide here, I don't want him coming in and saving games right now. But I don't know. Rob Thompson, guess what, Aim? Rob Thompson probably knows a little bit more about baseball and his players than me, you, and Ray combined.
We talk about the belief and the confidence, and he has that. And sometimes, to your point, it can be detrimental because, he says in his mind, this is where Hoffman comes in. He doesn't, I don't say he doesn't consider if he's been struggling or not, but I think it doesn't weigh as much on him. Like, this is where I go to my guy. I want to make sure my guy knows I still got his back until he doesn't, right? Until he forces him to change it up. And I think that's where he feels. So if you ask Rob Thompson, he's going to tell you that. Like, he's going to go with his guy until his guy tells him not to.
Right.
By his stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm like trying to look ahead of that. And there's probably players will probably hate me. I don't know. You look like you're
might
starting to get there a little
I'm
bit.
going to cut you off.
I'd probably get the okay. Thanks.
Yeah, all right,
get a
thanks,
ball
guy.
thrown in my head or
And
something
the next
like
thing,
that.
Hoffman goes out and mows down the side, and you're like, oh, just kidding. So you never know.
This team is just so much fun to watch right
That's
now.
where we're at. We're literally like nitpicking, who's coming in.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's so great.
And I'm not, believe me, I'm not trying to look for something bad and a great thing. I'm just wondering if I'm seeing a little something in Hoffman, like, oh, he looks
Missing a
like
little
he
bit.
might be dipping a little bit. But that being said, Alvarado, what was his first outing of the year, right, that he was bad? Or one of
Yeah,
the,
it was
one of
first.
the
He gave
first
up
ones.
5
Right.
runs, I think, opening day.
Yeah, and then after that, he's been absolutely terrific. If they can get Sir Anthony back on track,
he's
and
the
they're
only
trying,
question mark, yeah.
they're trying to get him back on track. Kirkering has been absolutely phenomenal, and I love the way they handled him last year, although it may have seemed rushed.
Yeah.
Look,
It worked out.
You can't say this young kid who was in single-A ball last year, he's got playoff experience.
It's remarkable. I remember talking to him after the NLDS, and he's in this clubhouse, and they're going crazy, and everybody's pouring the beer and the champagne, and he looked like how we would look. He's just looking around being like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
How cool is
Yeah,
this?
and I remember asking him, I was like, that's exactly what I said. Like, how cool is this? And he goes, it's unbelievable.
I remember
Unbelievable.
I couldn't wait to see this kid pitch because of the nastiness that they would show us from being down in the minors. And then he comes up, and they got his dad there, and his dad's
my
tearing
gosh.
up, and that was phenomenal. And then the kid starts throwing, and you're like,
Oh,
wow, this is pretty remarkable. So I love the way they handled him last year. And it wasn't normal. It was
No.
against all odds that you bring a kid up from A and say, what was it, last couple of weeks of the season?
Yeah, he
Here, get a couple
accelerated.
innings, and by the way, we're going to need you for the playoffs,
Yeah.
too.
We got the wild card in the NLDS coming up. Oh, you've seen the Braves, right? On television? Let's go.
Yeah, that's basically where it was. So we got a lot of great Phillies talk coming up. There's some numbers with this team that are just unbelievable. And, of course, Eagles started OTAs. I brought something up to the guys yesterday about, like, bringing a player in if you could, anybody. Amy went to a place that I was kind of surprised at with the Philadelphia Eagles. I've known Amy for a long time. There's a lot of sunshine and love in her heart. She's a very, very good person. Why she hates Saquon Barkley, I just don't understand
gosh.
it. But we're going to get to the bottom of it. Ray might even throw out some more French phrases to us today. We got all that and a whole lot more. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. 97.5 The Fanatic. Middays. Amy Fadul with us all day today. I'm Bob Cooney, along with Ray Dunn, our French-speaking producer. Very proud of him opening up the show the way he did. Yeah, well, you caught him off guard yesterday, Amy. Amy caught me off guard yesterday, too.
I did.
So, and I tease, stop whoever's tweeting her or texting her or whatever. She does not hate Saquon Barkley, at least I don't think she does.
No.
But the practice that I had yesterday to her and Ray was if you could take one player out of a league and put him on your Philadelphia team. We did Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, and Eagles. When we went to the Eagles, Amy Fadul, without hesitation, said that she would take
Christian McCaffrey
from the San Francisco 49ers. A walking touchdown, a running touchdown, a guy who can catch the ball, a guy who can run the ball, obviously. On the surface, okay, great. But then I started thinking about it more last night, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. I wasn't putting you down at all. I thought, interesting, because I would have thought that 9 out of 10 people that we would have asked for one person to come over to the Eagles, it would have been on the defensive side of the ball. There has to be something. I'm trying to make you think on yourself here, Aim. There has to be. Did you just go because he's the best, or
I think
because I labeled it as, look at this Eagles team. I don't think the running game is going to be bad at all. I think it's going to be pretty good.
Great. I think Saquon Barkley is going to do what we expected DeAndre Swift to do as far as running and catching out of the backfield. My thing is, Christian McCaffrey makes even an average quarterback look amazing. He makes Brock Purdy look good, right? He erases a lot of evils. So there might be some questions with this offense as a whole and how it might operate. And wouldn't it be nice to have just an automatic outlet of, like, if I throw it to this guy, I'm probably going to – really good things are going to happen. Probably a touchdown.
All right, so we did this yesterday, like, to finish up the show. It was real quick.
It was.
That we did it, and we didn't take any calls, and we had some problems with our computers. So I'm going to open this up to everybody out there. It's 610-632-0975. Now, Eagles open up OTAs today. You know the talk is coming. It's building. It's bubbling right now, but it's going to come to the surface. All of that. I'm going to put the question out to all of you. If there's one player in the NFL that you could add to this Eagles team as it's constructed right now, who would it be? Now, Ray, you went, where did you go? TJ Watt?
TJ Watt.
All right, TJ Watt.
Micah Parsons was my second selection.
But I don't care. Your first is all that matters.
It was CMC.
I went with Micah Parsons, right. Amy went Christian McCaffrey. I got to tell you, I was more than a little surprised. Borderline shocked.
You did. And then you asked me, is Saquon not the same as Christian McCaffrey?
No.
I think that's exactly what it was.
No, you're a lot. Now she's lying to me, too. I said he's, slightly above. It's more than slight, but.
Yeah, you definitely feel like, is he that bit much of an upgrade, I think, or something?
Yes,
and I was like.
That sounds better.
And I remember looking at you, what? Yes.
Yeah, you gave me a look.
I did.
Yeah.
I did give you a look.
I'm telling you, I'm still surprised at it.
Right.
As currently constructed, Amy needs to upgrade the running back position. We've on the cell had some Saquon Barkley talk. We've, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yo, man, you are so right on time, man. And you and her, y'all, this is great, man. Yo, I mean, if you had to pick one back, you know why I picked Saquon Barkley? Let me tell you why we would pick Saquon Barkley. Because look at their statistics, okay? Look at catching coming out of the backfield. Look at his first year when he had 91 catches. And you know what? There's no even comparison.
Oh, well, there kind of is. And thanks, we appreciate it. There kind of is a good comparison, and it's Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, that's the thing is,
I just described McCaffrey.
You did. Like, it's amazing. This guy catches out of the backfield, and look at all the stuff he does. That's what we thought DeAndre Swift was going to do, and then it just never came to fruition. And I think that was the disappointment.
That can be a worry for us too, right, Aim?
Right.
Like, does this organization, as much as it's talked about and all that, is there maybe just not a 1-2 throw to a back out of the backfield? And I got to say, I would understand it. You have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, you have Dallas Goedert.
I think the thought process for me last year going in was you want to cut down on Jalen Hurts running because as the last option, he does his check. All right, there's my option 1 is covered, option 2 is covered, and then he would just take off. And I think in my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds, you're thinking, well, you have DeAndre Swift, this dynamic runner, catches out of the backfield. He is your outlet pass. Nothing wrong with throwing in the flat to that guy because he can do stuff. So maybe there is a reluctance. Maybe it's just something they need to coach more into the offense as far as like you go through your progressions, and if the second one isn't there, instead of running, try this guy.
Right.
And we just didn't see that. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was a disconnect in the offense. Maybe it was just not an option for them. Maybe it wasn't something they thought. But that's what DeAndre Swift was supposed to do. Barkley definitely has that in his bag. You know who really has it? CMC.
He's got it in his bag more. Yeah,
I would say he's the ultimate weapon, and I say that in the most honoring way of the actual ultimate weapon.
All right, well, let us know what you think, because I'm really interested in this one, because I am borderline shocked that Amy threw out there Christian McCaffrey. I understand it. I really am.
It was originally it was like, well, you couldn't pick Patrick Mahomes was the example you gave because they already committed monetarily to a long-term contract with Jalen Hurts.
Right. That's why I say, as this team is currently constructed, who would be your number one go out and get?
Well, you didn't say number one, but you said who would I choose?
Well, who would be the guy? Who would be anybody in the NFL would you go out and get? I'd love to hear what you had to say. Either let me know how crazy or on board, Amy is on this Christian McCaffrey, and let me know who you would go out and get. Anybody in the NFL you could add to this Eagles team. 610-632-0975. Now, we're getting some people on our YouTube page, and thanks, everybody, for checking in. And I don't want to steal a whole bunch, but I'll just give you we have a TJ Watt, which is also what Ray said. Myles Garrett. See, that's where I'm going. I'm going right to the defensive side of the ball. And I'm probably getting a pass rusher. I went Micah Parsons, labeled as a linebacker, but, kind of a hybrid.
Yeah, he gets home.
Not kind of a hybrid. Fully a hybrid.
Full-on hybrid.
Yeah, I would love to see that guy in this
Great
defense.
Player.
And we know it's going to happen. I mean,
Absolutely.
the guy does everything except wear an Eagles jersey.
I was going to say, he's here at the Sixers games. He is such a Philly guy, and it's going to be great because he will, just like Barkley. They're all just going to come on back.
Yeah, probably. We have Neil Deaver on our YouTube page that says CMC isn't a big enough upgrade from Saquon.
The man he should have won MVP last year.
Yeah, he should have.
He was that offense. The only reason they were in the Super Bowl was because of Christian McCaffrey.
They have a pretty good defense, too, though.
They do.
And Brock Purdy did what he had to do.
Because he has that guy.
Because he has that guy. He also has nice weapons at wide.
Yeah, I mean, he's got great pieces out there.
He does have great pieces out there. And Kittle's kind of gone by the side. And
which is weird because he was an upper echelon tight end for the long, and he still is, but in that offense, he's just not as featured.
Yeah, so I think it's a really interesting question. And I wonder, we have some texts on it, Ray?
Yes, we do. We got a couple of texts here of people checking in. Phil in New Jersey goes with someone that's not currently on an NFL roster, but I think some people would welcome this, Jason Kelce.
If they would have. Wait, have you seen what Jason? I saw him at the Mike Quick golf outing. Slim down.
Oh, but
not like
funny?
Slim, but like slimmer.
I did see him tee off on one hole. It was on Twitter or something like that, or you guys had it. Yeah.
Looks good.
Those offensive linemen, that's
a lot to try to maintain that 300.
We can laugh and say like, "Oh, are you kidding? Let me eat and stay fat all I want." That doesn't seem like a hard thing to do. It is. Like for those guys, it is.
Yeah.
A lot of them are elite athletes. Like it's amazing when you look at Lane Johnson out there on the field, and then you see him in his gym in where's it, Oklahoma, I think, and he's got his shirt off and he's got the six pack and all that.
He was a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jason Kelce was a tight end. These guys are very good athletes, and they just happen to be moved to this, which is an incredible move. But they have to bulk up.
They become the big fatties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you just said he's ripped with a six-pack. So
yeah. All right. I'll bury that. All right. Just like we put a moratorium on the age talk, I will bury the big fatty.
That joke got old real fast.
Which one? The old one?
The age joke.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not kidding. I forgot you even said it. How would I know? All right, 610-632-0975. Who would it be? Who would be the NFL player that you would put on this Eagles team immediately if you could? And I will do the caveat of as they are currently constructed. So Amy she's sitting tight with Christian McCaffrey. I'm not saying I want to change her mind, but let's see if we can throw somebody maybe, I don't know, maybe a little more appealing out there for this currently constructed Eagles team. See, I wouldn't even go near the off. Like, the offense would be probably my fifth guy down. I would go for a great linebacker.
Yeah, linebacker.
Yeah, I love Micah Parsons. TJ Watt's another one that I absolutely love. I don't know, a playmaking safety. So, just giving examples, not specifics, but yeah, I was it's funny because you and I think alike on so many different things. And then when we do, if there's something that a subject comes up, it's not that we're disagreeing with each other. We're adding to what the other one's thought was. This one I'm almost in disagreement with you.
I got it. That's good.
And I love it. Yeah, that's what makes the show so much fun. Hey, I got to tell you that the 10 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. Ray, we have another text on anybody that somebody would bring in to this Eagles team?
Another person trying to bend the rules here and go outside of a player.
Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick.
No, Andy Reid.
Andy Reid.
Oof.
Is he bringing Patrick?
Has he gotten better as a coach, or has he gotten better players around him as a coach?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think he's
Probably.
also learned from, maybe some of the missteps that he took.
Yeah. Yeah.
He still calls the plays.
Would that excite you, bringing him back here?
Yes,
Really?
absolutely.
Is it because you think it's just that much of an upgrade, or you just want to have him here?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
I
It's
set
funny.
myself up for that one.
The obvious answer right off everybody's head should be yes, right?
Yeah.
Then I start thinking deeper. Okay, 65, whatever, 66-year-old coming back here. We've seen what he's done in Kansas City, but I think we'd still say, yeah, but that was Patrick Mahomes. I wonder if people would be really excited about that. But it's interesting that somebody brought that up. All right, we'll get to some more of your answers. 610-632-0975. You can call us. Love to talk to you about this. Or text us that number. Also, I hate this team. I hate this organization. I can't stand their fans. I can't stand that noise. I can't stand their public address announcer. There's nothing about that team that I like. And yes, even though I'm wearing their colors today, oh my God, I just realized that. I can't stand the Boston Celtics. We'll talk a little bit about what happened with them last night. Also, something a little interesting when we're talking about how to build this Sixers team. Celtics might be the odds-on favorite to win the NBA title. Let's look how they're built, because it's not going to give you, I don't think, a diagram of how to build an NBA championship. All that and a whole lot more. Amy's going to be with us all day today. Bob Cooney, middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate you as we get ready for this holiday weekend, the unofficial start to summer. I got to say, it's one of my favorite times of the year, Aim. I just love it. I'm so
Summer's
pumped
here.
up. It is. And I just love this time of the year. The fact that the Phillies are playing the way they are is really cool. Even though I couldn't stand the outcome of the game last night, it was a great game. That Celtics Indiana Pacers game. I want to talk to that a little bit more with you. But a whole lot going on, OTAs, all that. The question we have out there for you right now, and I'm really interested in your take on this at 610-632-0975. I threw out there yesterday, and maybe we'll throw out some of the other teams now also. But I threw out there yesterday, if you could grab any player from the league to add to the Phillies, to add to the Flyers, to add to the Sixers, and then to add to the Eagles, who would it be? We did it real quick yesterday, so now I'll put it out to you. 610-632-0975. Amy Fadul went with Christian McCaffrey for the Philadelphia Eagles. It shocked me. It surprised me. It didn't disappoint me because I thought it could make for some more conversation. So if you want to answer that, what player from any league would you add to the home team and you think it would be a perfect fit, the answer, however you want to label it? Also, we want you to know, like, the team as it's currently constructed. So, you know, are you adding a Patrick Mahomes and saying, yeah, Jalen Hurts, get out of here? I would try to steer clear of that, but whatever you want to do, the question's out there. 610-632-0975. What player from any league, football to the Eagles, baseball to the Phillies, basketball to the Sixers, hockey to the Flyers, would you like to add to this team? All right, Aim, last night I'm sitting around. 8 o'clock comes. Got to watch the NBA game.
Yep.
So Phillies are wrapping it up. Obviously, they're number one, but every time they go to commercial, boom, over to the Indiana-Boston game. And we talked about it yesterday, and I said, you know, I think Indiana's going to hang. I told you a 10-point line. I said, I think they're going to hang it at the beginning of the game because they're going to have that they're playing good basketball right now. They just got out of a really tough series, right? And they did that. They hung and hung and hung. I said that they might fall apart at the end because of legs or whatever, and Boston's had the rest. I didn't see them falling apart the way they did.
The mental mistakes were a surprise for a team that's played so solid. And it's not – I think a lot of people might look at it and think, oh, the pace that they play at lends itself to turnovers. They've really perfected that kind of style. That's become their calling card. So for them to have those two such costly turnovers, the game was there. You're taking a game in Boston from the Celtics in a series that leads. It's mind-blowing that's how that played out to go to the NBA final. Like, I don't know if they crumbled. I don't know if it was pressure. It surprised me because I didn't think that was that team's makeup.
I was absolutely shocked. And for those that maybe didn't see it or haven't read about it yet, Indiana has a 3-point lead with 27 seconds to go and the basketball. They
how do you lose that game?
Yeah, they try to throw an inbounds pass, which was weird. Like, Halliburton got his hand on it. He was going towards the Boston basket. Throw it to him. It goes off of his hands. They turn it over there. Boston turns it into what'd they do? It was Jaylen
Brown.
There was a series of things that happened. Yeah, Jaylen Brown hits a 3 from 23 feet on the left corner of the court on an inbounds play where it was just
someone
odd.
didn't rotate. He was open. They had a little rotation, and all of a sudden you see him free. Like
T.J. McConnell and Halliburton kind of were trying to guard inside the 3-point line and kind of got messed up a little bit there.
I don't know what happened.
Brown fades out to the 3-point line. He makes it with 8 seconds to go, ties the game at 117, and then Boston goes on to win it in overtime. But it was so clear to me last night what they have and what the Sixers don't have. And you know what it is? It's not even guys on the court. It's not, saying, oh, well, they know how they score points when they know how to win. They just do. Mm-hmm. They know how to win. It's the know-how. And Ray said it this morning. Ray said something. Now, it's a 3-point game with the ball with 27 seconds to go. Ray said, as soon as I saw that turnover, you knew Boston was going to win.
Absolutely.
Like you knew Boston was going to win.
Because that's how Boston plays. We've been talking about the Phillies' confidence in one another. That Celtics squad rolls out and talk about, answering the call. Every single one of their players answers the call on a given night. Jason Tatum will have an off night. Jaylen Brown picks him up. Kristaps Porzingis comes in at different times of the season. Derek White. They have they're all bought in, and they're all winners. That team, I hate that team because of how they look. And I mean that because they look like they're winning every time that they walk on the court. I'm like, well, as soon as you saw that turnover, I'm like, oh, you can't give Boston an opportunity because they're going to slam it home in your face.
Yeah, and it goes, there's a couple of things with it. It just seems that people learn how to play better when they go up to Boston. So if you're a sports fan without any, like, I hate Boston, but I can sit back and say, I got to respect that organization in that, and I'll give you an example, Aim. I'm covering the Sixers one year. Don't remember what year it was. They're playing an exhibition game up at the University of Massachusetts, okay? Exhibition game. It gets to be early to middle of the fourth quarter. Boston's rolling out there, third stringers and stuff like that, as are the Sixers. Sixers look like it's a summer league game. The ball's flying all over the place, out of bounds here, offensive fouls, all that. Boston, while they have players there that I don't know if any of them made it to the NBA, are running a scheme, are running back doors, are picking correctly, are coming off screens correctly. Now, whether those guys made the shots or not, if you could sit back and watch, you say, damn, they just run a system that everybody learns, and they learn how to run it, and all of those things. And to me, Boston is just a place where players go and get better. Like, Al Horford's a perfect example. How does he come here and it's like, this guy stinks? How does he go up there for the last 4 years and be like a younger, what you expected here, Al Horford?
He's an undercover agent.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, right, Ray?
Double agent, for sure. For sure.
He came here to help us tank.
They saw how good Embiid was going to be.
Yeah, and they were like, whoa, we need to check this.
Yeah, they needed to slow us down.
Oh, all right. Well, they did a hell of a...
kidding
Another
aside.
reason to hate the Boston.
Well, when in that story was Brad Stevens the coach. So I think that a lot of it in the recent, looking back 15 years on or 12 years on, he has a big hand in this because the coaching, while always has been good, I think he really orchestrates everything that is with this team as far as the mentality. You can look down at the Heat and say that that's Pat Riley. I think you look at the Celtics and say that is Brad Stevens.
And he took it over from Danny Ainge, who also had that organization running well. And it just seems to keep carrying on. And you go back to Red Auerbach, and they've just always had that mystique.
Culture. It's a culture.
It is. It's a culture, and it's very hard to get to. And it's something that you and I talked about weeks ago, that the Sixers just aren't there yet. And, we'll have to see how that all plays out. Okay, when we get back, we have some people on the line want to talk some Phillies, so we'll get back to them. Some more texts about this. And don't forget, the question of the day, if you could bring any player in a league over to a Philadelphia team, who would it be? 610-632-0975. Bob Cooney, middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Happy Wednesday for everybody. Hump day for many. Maybe not for all, but for many, as there are people that make this a long weekend. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be running out of here tomorrow to get their weekend started. Tyrone's one of them. He was telling me he's going to have his foot out the door right at 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I think maybe the whole best show ever is off on Friday, so they're going to be all out of here. So everybody, why are you giving me that look? Right.
I mean, you're just
We're here
really
Friday.
pushing this out on other people here. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, where's your foot going to be?
Out the door. Out the door, yeah. So yeah, well that I mean,
you were
that's what
making
smart
it seem
people
like
do.
you weren't
No,
doing
I was going to include myself in there before Ray interrupted me. So
I didn't interrupt you.
He's becoming like a French person. He's rude.
Oh,
yeah.
if you're
he learns
French,
a
call
little
in.
French, and now all of a sudden he becomes, one of these very snooty French people.
No.
Yes,
Listen,
right.
you're alienating our French audience, okay? We do
Yes.
really strong numbers
I'm not
in
saying
Paris and
Yes.
Montreal.
And there you go. Yes. Don't forget about the French
And
Canadians.
Quebec.
New France.
I've never been to Montreal.
Me neither.
Have you, Wayne?
No. Toronto. Not
We
Montreal.
drove up to Quebec for a women's World Cup soccer game, which was real cool. And the city of Quebec is really fun and really nice. But I've never been to Montreal, and I hear that's
I heard
beautiful.
it's lovely. Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard the same.
I'd like to go there. I'd like to go to Vancouver. I hear Vancouver is
Been to
beautiful.
Vancouver.
It's great there, right?
Very nice.
They film a lot of movies there.
Yeah,
if
it's
I'm
very
not
scenic
mistaken.
right there on the
Yes.
water like that.
Yeah. Wow. You're a world traveler, huh?
I mean, it's Canada.
Well, it's still, it's
It's a different country, yes.
Yes,
Not
it
a
is.
whole lot of travel for
It's
me.
just north of Seattle. Kind
Exactly.
of.
It's up there.
Yeah. So Seattle's another place that I've flown into, but I've never spent time there.
We went to the Eagles Seahawks game, the Super Bowl year out there. Loudest stadium. I physically was shaking, like physically my body.
Really?
Yeah, it was
like that,
exceptionally
huh?
loud. Yes,
Well, it's
very
pretty
loud.
cool that they say they built it to hold in the volume
They
of the
do.
fans and all.
Yeah.
So, did you pick out a game this year for Eagles? And the Kane and Fadul family.
We have not picked it out yet. A lot of our stuff has to be kind of decided by what the Phillies are going to do.
Oh, they're going to win the World Series.
So that's going to take quite a bit of time in the heart of football season. So we might just do something very small, like maybe like a Ravens game later on.
Okay.
Instead of making it, usually we go like it's
December
a
1st.
trip. It's let's go to Miami, let's go to Seattle instead of like for the day or two.
Right.
Baltimore's lovely. We're going to Baltimore for the Orioles game, and we'll be maybe that'll be one.
Okay. I will be there. I will be going on December 1st
Great.
to the Eagles-Ravens game.
I'll see you there.
With our friends from Philly Sports Trips, which is going to be very exciting. I believe
Maybe I can just
perhaps
tail
Ray
in on
Dunn
that.
can join us. Yeah,
Just
you
show up.
You could absolutely do that. So, Ray, the subject that we brought up today, and we're going to get into Phillies. Joe, I'll get to you in 1 second. But the subject that we brought up, any player in the league that you could bring over to your Philadelphia team, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, if you could bring a player over to your team, who would it be? And I jump on this because of Christian McCaffrey, Amy yesterday. She hates Saquon Barkley. I can't believe it. But that's where she is. Ray, do we have some texts on it?
Yes, we do. Mike checking in saying he wants Kyle Hamilton.
Oh, boy, John Kincade is jumping up and down over that. So we were in Las Vegas, Amy. You weren't. I don't think I've talked to you about it. We were in Las Vegas for – what the hell were we there for? Well, the NFL draft, I guess for the NFL draft. And the Phillies were playing at the time, I believe, in the playoffs, whatever. So we're gathered as a group watching the Eagles draft. Kyle Hamilton went to the same high school as John Kincaid's daughter down in Georgia.
I've heard that.
So
I've heard that, yeah.
he's got a huge love, much like he does for a lot of things down there. But he wanted Kyle Hamilton screaming and hollering, We took video of him making fun of him because he was pacing and all that.
Thinking that Kyle Hamilton was gonna.
Yeah, so we were hoping they would take like a punter or something, just
to really.
And they
drive it home.
they wind up taking Jordan Davis instead of Kyle Hamilton. Well, he was very upset. That's pretty good. Playmaking, safety, the way he is.
Yeah, good player.
I don't think that's a bad one at all. I kind of like that one. What other ones we got, Ray?
All right, Ryan in New Jersey, Justin from Media, and Dom all want Fred Warner.
Yeah, Fred Warner was on
Warner.
our YouTube page also. Somebody said either TJ Watt or Fred Warner. That's not bad either.
No.
Yeah, I think
You really
these
can't
people,
go wrong on defense, I feel like. You can
Right,
apparently
you
go wrong
can.
on offense.
Yeah, I don't understand the offensive thing, but no, you cannot. So it's an interesting question. Look, we're doing all the sports. Doesn't have to just be the Eagles. Any sport. I think for the Phillies, I went Shohei Ohtani. You went Mike Trout. And Ray said
Mason Miller.
Miller. He went with a relief
reliever.
pitcher.
Yeah.
All right, so out of those three, I kind of have to question that one. All right.
You said
well,
as currently constructed.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. No question.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
don't get Otani to pitch this year.
Yeah, now that was the thing.
Yeah. You're right. I could have been mistaken on that one.
That's fine. No,
All right,
it's okay.
then we went to the
You want Schwarber in the field.
Flyers, we all had the same.
Flyers. We all had Connor McDavid, and Sixers. I went Luka Doncic.
I went Anthony
You went
Edwards.
Anthony Edwards.
I want some KD.
You went
and you
Kevin
went
Durant.
Kevin Durant. I thought that was a little surprising.
Just because given the
I
age.
like it.
Listen, I think Ray said he loved watching him play and he wants to see him. And I think that Kevin Durant helps a lot of teams. He didn't help the Suns this year, but I think he helps a lot of teams. I love watching Kevin Durant, but I wouldn't want him on this team this year.
His help versus Bradley Beal's hurt,
Right, yeah.
Might be something there.
That's you can't cancel out enough.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal does bring a lot of hurt to a team.
Yes.
A lot of
and
hurt, yeah.
When you only have
Yikes.
those three guys.
That's kind of it.
That's it, yeah.
Joe in South Jersey wants to talk a little baseball. Joe, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, first off, Montreal and Seattle, both really cool cities. Spent time in both of them. A lot of fun.
I got to get there.
Yeah, we got to go to Montreal.
The baseball, so the MVP or the talent you would bring over, team as constructed, I would grab that Pirates pitcher from LSU.
Paul Skeens.
Yeah, because you don't know what Andrew Painter is ever going to be, but this guy who starts out looks like the real deal. You add him to this lineup as well. He's young and he's only going to continue to grow. Why not?
All right.
And then my other question is actually about the baseball broadcast. It's been driving me nuts for 2 years now, and I just have a question. Amy, when the Phillies play on Friday night, they use the City Connect logo on all of the graphics on the pre and post and along with the graphics on the screen during the game broadcast. They do the same thing with the NFL when the Eagles wear the Kelly Greens. They have the old school logo. Why don't they do that on Thursdays when they know that they're going to wear throwback powder blues?
That's a great question. This is the first year, Joe, that they've done the different graphic on the Phillies broadcast. And so I think they created that for the City Connect. That's a great question. I will be asking that today if we can get some powder, because people love the powder blue. Who doesn't love a good powder blue?
Good point.
I'm so OCD, and I see
You need to see it.
I need to see the baby blue and the maroon when they're wearing those.
Yeah, especially the P that looks like that because it's so distinct.
It is, yeah. It's the old school P. Joe,
love that. I'll ask
Joe,
today.
you got to call back on Friday. Amy will be
I'll
back
get the
with us
answer
on
for you.
Friday.
Look, if you do that on Friday, I will call back and sing you a song of happiness or something, because
That'll send me into the weekend with joy.
Because my friends have been saying I'm insane for 2 years because I keep complaining about it. I'm like, yo, I'm wearing the maroon. They're wearing the maroon. Why doesn't the TV have the maroon?
Nah,
Yeah.
Joe, thanks so
I
much
love
for the
it.
call. I get like that sometimes with certain things.
Well, especially since they now do it. So for people that I know you've been watching, I've seen the ratings. Everyone's been watching the Phillies, but they try to match it. And to his point, they did it in the Eagles season as well because of the throwback. Now, obviously, that was the first year they did that. So they changed the graphics to look at like the team. They have the Kelly Green, and it's the old school Eagle logo down there at the bottom. So the NFL one is a bar all the way across, and it has all the timeouts and everything. But the Phillies is a score bug, a little teeny square in the corner. And in the Philly Connect nights, which are Friday home games, they show that. And so Joe's question was, why can't we see that little maroon P would look really sharp up there too.
That would. And all right, so Joe was talking about things that it just catches his eyes, OCD. You're not OCD. I think it's more of a case of when you hear something and somebody brings it to your attention, or you see something, you can't stop it. So now my thing is,
now you're just going to watch
and I'm going to blame our old partner Jamie Lynch on this one. This is so stupid, but I look for it all the time now. It was the poop.
Oh,
when the Phillies play the Pirates.
How about when they play the Reds?
P00P.
It says Coop when they play the Reds.
or now Poot or there's just
Dupe.
everything. I look for a dupe. Yeah, so now all the time I'm like, oh, does that say something? Or if it's a 01, does it spell now I'm crazy with it. Like I'm
You're
always
reading
looking
it.
for it.
Well, they used to stack it on top, and now it's and we were
straight
talking about
across.
this at work the other day. We're so used to. So there was a graphical thing they were trying to update it, and there was probably all of 45 seconds on the Phil's game last week that didn't have the score bug up, maybe 40. And we were all like in a panic. Like we can't possibly have been paying attention enough to know we knew what the score was,
Right.
but we're so. That was not the norm growing up. You had no idea what the score was, what time was on the clock, how much time was left in the game, the half, no idea. And yet somehow we enjoyed it.
Yeah. And somehow some of the best players ever to play those games still did that.
It's remarkable. I mean, the announcers, we really relied on them to give us the scenario, but it's crazy to think. I can't imagine looking at a game. And then during COVID, I think everybody kind of watched old stuff. You would see it. Like you were watching those old Bulls teams.
Right.
You have no idea what the score was.
No.
You have no idea.
No.
You just needed Marv to tell you.
Yeah, you needed Marv or Vern Lundquist
Yeah,
or
they had
somebody
to tell
like
you.
that.
Kenny Jackson, tell me.
Terrell in Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Terrell, what's going on?
How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Good, Terrell.
So, players that I would take right now.
All right. Which sport are you going?
I want to go one football, one basketball, and one coach.
Okay.
Player, football, Sauce Garner, obvious reasons.
Oh, I would take that, Terrell, in a heartbeat. I love that one.
Basketball, we need a wing player, and I don't know, I just SGA and OKC.
Might be the best guy you could get out there. Another one I love. You're 2 for 2, Terrell.
The head coaching, I know it's not a popular choice because he's a rival and their fans get on our nerves, but I would take Kyle Shanahan.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, that would be interesting pairing him with Jalen Hurts to see what would happen.
Yeah, I think him and Jalen Hurts would make magic.
You think he would make Jalen Hurts look that much better, Terrell?
I think he's the way he did Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy's trash. And I think
Brock Purdy.
And I apologize to
That's all right.
that likes
I don't
Brock
think
Purdy,
Mrs. Purdy's listening.
Yeah, no.
But I think Jalen Hurts is good, obviously, and I think he would make him probably a Hall of Famer. You would make him look better than McNabb.
All right, I appreciate it, Terrell. All right, Terrell just did my and great choices. SGA, Sauce Gardner, terrific. Kyle Shanahan, you gotta have the talk on that. But Terrell just did something that is my pet peeve.
Uh-oh.
Pet peeve. He could make him a Hall of Famer. The guy's 4 years in the league. Can't we just make him a better football player? Why do we automatically have to jump to Hall of Famer? Why do we automatically have to jump? Well, I think this guy's going to be an All-Pro in 3-4 years. Can we just live in the moment? Like, I've told this story so many times. Zion Williamson comes into the league. He plays 1 year. Somebody emails me. Do you think he's going to be a Hall of Famer?
He's 19.
I'm like, can't we? I don't know. I just want him to be like a starter for 100 games in the NBA before I even think if he's going to be an all-star or not.
Is that person 9-year-old Sean Kane? I didn't know where that was.
Why? Is that what he does?
All the time.
Asks
Not
if
all the
somebody's going to
time,
be a
but
Hall of Famer or
we'll
not?
talk about, that guy's a really good player. Do you think he could be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know.
But that's okay for a 9-year-old.
Sure, correct. Yeah, there you
Like,
go.
that's fine. I expect that
Yeah,
of
I think
a
that's just-
9-year-old.
The expectations are people want to know, like, what level. They always want to look for the ceiling in a player.
Why?
'Cause that's what people do.
Like,
Or comparisons. Who's he going to be in the league? How many times do you look at an NBA draft and they're like, oh, this guy's NBA
Compares to-
equivalent is.
yeah.
And I get it. A lot of times it's so you can try to see what they will be at that next level, but it's just a guess.
Oh, absolutely.
There's
It's
no
just
way
a
when
guess.
they took Nikola Jokic, they thought that they were going to take a 3-time MVP. There's no way.
No.
Not a chance.
It is.
Nice
It's
player.
just. It's just one of those things. I just want to live in the moment. I'm a day-to-day
Do it.
guy. I really don't have to project out if a guy's going to be a Hall of Famer or not, or where do you think he's going to fall on the list of all-time career assists?
Probably third.
I don't know. Yeah, I should say 7. Connor's answer to anything when you bring up like a numbers, it's always 7.
7?
Always 7.
Good to
Hey,
know.
Connor, where do you think that's 7? Anything. We have more text on this, Ray?
7 more, yeah. Yeah, we got some more texts on.
Ray's on his game
It
today.
is.
Listen, I'm just having fun, man. I don't know what to tell you. We did get a Sauce Gardner, which was the next text coming up. We got Jim G. wanted to check in with the joke
Jim
I
G's
made.
a friend of ours on the YouTube page.
Yes, wanted to check in with the joke I made yesterday. Giving the Flyers Michkov.
Michkov. Matvey Michkov.
That'd be great.
Coming over.
Would
It
enjoy
could be.
it.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, you don't usually hear rumblings coming out from over there, the KHL.
KHL.
No, they're kind of secretive, yeah. So the fact that this came out and at 19, maybe he's closer than 2-3 years away, I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. Tony from Warminster, off the beaten path. Messi to the Union.
Oh, wow. That is off the
would be
beat. That's
fun.
Amazing. Great call.
That would be so much fun. And, it's funny because the Union, unlike Miami or wherever he went down there, they
compete.
It's not like they need fan support. They're sold out almost all the time. It's
I was at that game last year, though. It was bananas.
He did play. He did play. That's right. Yeah, there was talk
nuts.
leading up to it.
They sell out all the time.
Yeah,
But it would be
I
great.
love
That's
the
fun, though.
atmosphere down there. All right, what else you got, Ray?
JT in Tacony saying Ant-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
what I said.
what Amy has
I like
too.
it.
So the Sixers is interesting because it's, as we know, it's so wide open, and you can literally bring anybody in. It's funny. As you guys are talking, I'm still going over in my head the Kevin Durant thing. I loved watching Kevin Durant play. When I saw him play live, it was just amazing. I told you guys the story, walking in behind him one time in Phoenix, and I was shocked that, my head went up to his waist. That's how long that guy's legs are. And to have a touch the way he has it, that's, without looking at points per game, he's still probably one of the top 3 scorers in the NBA. That's an interesting one, Ray.
Just one offense, man. Just one offense when Embiid's not on the floor.
The Sixers, there's a lot of options there. It's a wide open roster to add to. Pick your pick.
Yeah,
Go with
really
it.
is.
You're probably not going to miss.
And then Jared in Nebraska checking in with Eagles, Parsons, Phillies, Soto, and SGA for the Sixers.
Yeah.
I was surprised nobody had said
Soto.
Juan Soto before.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty good one. Who said Aaron Judge yesterday? Was that you, Amy?
Yeah, because I didn't know. We kind of said, because we said Shohei Ohtani wouldn't pitch, and you said, for later. And I was like, well, it has to be right now. And obviously,
That's a good one.
he's on Trout. So I took Trout away because he's on the IL, and I inserted Aaron Judge, outfielder.
Yeah.
I think you said center or left, and I said, or
Just
anywhere.
outfield. Yeah. Yeah, I'll find a place for him. It's
Yeah.
like the argument we had with John Kincade before when he was talking about he didn't want Trout because of injuries. I said, I'm sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and take him.
Yeah, I would.
Take my
I think I
chances.
would. I would take him. And it turns out, once again, Trout's going to miss a lot of time due to injuries with whatever's going on out there. Okay, when we get back, there's so much to talk about with this Phillies team. And I want to dive into a few numbers. Amy and I were just talking about one in particular, and I got a text from a buddy who gave me all the magic numbers for the Phillies right now. Might be a little bit early for that, but there is so many great things going on with this team right now. The morning show brought it up, and we've brought it up plenty of times. I'm not going to do it again, about sustainability and all that stuff. I was just convinced in listening to John and Andrew this morning. I don't even want to look there. I just think this is a really, really good team, and possibly a team that could hit some of the projected numbers that Amy and I are going to throw out to you when we get back. This is Middays. Amy's going to be here all day long. Bob Cooney, Ray Dunn, 97.5 The Fanatic. 11:30 on the button as we come back today. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Beautiful weather out there. I think it's getting a little wonky tomorrow. But then Friday,
No.
Saturday, I thought we were supposed to get maybe some showers tomorrow
maybe.
at some point. But then
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is supposed to be gorgeous, like
80s.
87.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, no rain.
It says there's a slight chance late, like at 7 o'clock at night.
All right.
You're in good shape, though.
So we've been talking about different things and having some fun here as we go into the holiday weekend. One of them being, how do you build a team? You know, we went to the different sports, and what player from that sport would you bring here to Philadelphia? Also, a lot of the talk is concerning around the station and with you, the listeners, is what are the Sixers going to do? Now, Connor Thomas from the morning show, he came in during the break, and we were talking. He said, look, I really do have the perfect way for the Sixers to build a team that he thinks could compete. So we're wondering, are you going to go wing, point guard, like shooter? What do you go? Well, he's keeping Joel Embiid. Surprise. He's keeping Nick Batum. And he wants to get a bunch of guys that
Victor
speak
Wembanyama,
French to come over, and then they could call out all their plays and stuff in French, and the other team wouldn't understand what they were saying.
Is the coach French as well?
I said to Connor, do you just sit around and think of the stupidest things to bring up? And he said, and this is where I respect him. He said, oh, no, I don't have to sit around and think. They just pop into my head. So that was Connor's way of going. He wants to do the French connection thing.
I think it came up because someone said Victor Wembanyama on YouTube, and you said, oh, that's interesting. And he said, well, then, now that leads to my other idea. And that really kind of was the jumping off point for him for his French. We've had a lot of French chatter, which is odd.
J'aime pasete aider.
And what does that mean?
I do not like that idea.
He's over there on Google
Look at him.
Translate.
Wow. You are so impressive, right?
Renaissance man.
Truly.
That is you.
Yeah.
Okay, today, the Eagles OTAs start. And it's time to get, like I said earlier in the show, it's like the bubbles under the water you can start to see. All right, eventually it's going to be it's going to be craziness. But right now it's just kind of simmering a little bit. But there was some news made yesterday, Aim, and that was by the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, yes.
And talking about Vic Fangio. And it was a couple of one player in particular, I should say, safety Javon Holland. He came out. Now, he didn't mention Fangio in the stories I read by name. He did mention his new defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, said that he's just a good dude. You know, he can really relate to us. He's the guy that it's a complete 180.
Yes.
Now that you have him. Here's some of his quotes. He said, actually, Weave is super dope, man. Like, as a person, did I sound stupid saying it like that? As an ex-player, as a coach, you just feel he understands where we're coming from. He wants to hear us in our input on the defense, and then is able to put that into how the defense is called and how the defense is taught. So now he's great, man. I just think that it's the fact that he's a good person makes a difference.
He wants his coach to be his friend.
That comes under the, can I take a shot at somebody without actually taking a shot at somebody?
I mean, the 180 says everything you need to know, and he's a good person. He called him dope. All right.
I feel
Is he a good
uncomfortable saying
coordinator?
that.
You felt uncomfortable? I thought you sold it quite well.
I'm not. I don't use the word dope all that often. No, I got to tell you.
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just thinking so you would kind of want the follow-up question would be if he would answer, which he probably wouldn't since he didn't name Fangio, is what was wrong with Fangio? Was it that he was too hard on you, that he was a stickler? Was he too old school for you? If I'm calling a new coach, like if I walk in and I walk home and my mom says, hey, how was your new teacher? And I said, my teacher's dope. My mom would be like, I don't want your teacher to be your friend. I want your teacher to be your teacher.
I would say I don't want you to use the word dope.
Yeah, exactly. My mom would be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, so I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe his issue was they just didn't sync. I mean, you mentioned Weave is 43. I remember when he was in Baltimore. He's a well-liked player. Now he's been a well-liked member of, with the Ravens staff, and then coming over. The younger guy, the younger vibe, maybe he's just going to gel with the players. But I think maybe the discourse there could be the fact that it was an old-school type of coach. And a lot of people, I remember Dick LeBeau towards the end of his career, people just didn't like him. Does that mean Dick LeBeau's not a good coach just means that he might rub people the wrong way.
Now, when Vic Fangio was hired here and he had his press conference, there was already rumblings and people said some things on social media, Dolphins players, about, maybe there wasn't a favorable relationship with coach and players. Just as a background, I don't care about that. I don't. Not every player is going to like every coach he has to play for and vice versa. And maybe some guys do get along great with the players, but maybe they're not the best of coaches. I don't say this. Like Nick Sirianni has that reputation of just getting along great with his players. A player's coach, they all love him.
You got to respect him.
Whether he could coach his way out of a paper bag or not is what you really should be concerned about. And I'm not saying he can't, but whatever. Anyway, Vic Fangio talked to the Philly press after he was hired here and was asked specifically, he was asked this, it was suggested you didn't get along with some of the players, that there were relationship strains. What was your perspective? Fangio said at that time, I didn't see that at all, really. Anything we do, whether there, here, or anywhere else I've been, is what we think is best for the team and best for the defense, specifically to stop somebody. Wherever that falls, that's where it falls. I'm okay with that. Coaches, especially somebody that's been around as long as Vic Fangio, when you're going to tell them, you know what, that Ray Dunn, he did not like playing for you. He's going to say, I'm sorry for Ray. I am. I tried to get the most out of him, and that's that bothers them as much as, a raindrop in April.
Exactly.
It just doesn't. It doesn't. And I'm not saying it's old school. No, coaches realize, especially ones that have been around for a while, there's not going to be rainbows and sunshine all the time. There's just not. And the biggest question is Vic Fangio's defense going to be one that, now coming off of this aim, I'm going to say it, these younger kids are going to like?
And I think that the style of defense, it's been copied all over the league, and a lot of people have tried to implement those things. So you hope that reputation is why some of the younger players, if he is not their cup of tea, that they at least go with that. Maybe we're not going to be buddies. I'm not going to, hang out with him, or I'm not going to go to him and, say, hey, you want to go get something to eat. I do hope that they buy into the system then. That's really the respect level is what's more important. Do they like you? Okay, great. If they do, they don't. But do they respect what you can do and that they're going to try to get the most out of you and make you the best player you can be in the best defense? Then you're good. Because like you said, Bill Belichick, no one likes him. I feel like he is just hated even on his team. You saw that roast.
No one likes him.
I felt like no one liked him. But they respected him. And then when you have the results, it doesn't really matter. I think he's a very abrasive guy, and maybe Fangio rubs people the wrong way. Maybe he's abrasive. Maybe he's a guy that doesn't have flowery type of talk, and he's just a cut to the chase type of guy. That's fine.
Yeah.
If it works, who cares?
Now, there is something to be said for coaches, changing maybe some styles to cater to
who
what
you've got.
People are like, people being your players are like today. So Fangio was asked about that also, saying, how have players changed since the 40 years ago when he started coaching? How different are they? And he says, I'll give you a Cliff Note version, they really haven't changed very much at all. What's changed is the people around them. People are not expecting as much out of players as we used to expect. These players will work and give you everything they've got within reason. It starts at an early age when they're in high school, college. Everybody, less is more type of thing. Preserve your energy. You guys here in the NBA, load management. So he kind of goes on.
Yeah, he said that was his press conference. It was good.
Right. Now, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Now you all start to try to tie it together. I have a little shade of worry.
You think he's going to push them and they're not going to respond?
I worry about the talk of my way is 40 years old, but it's the highway, and it still works.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what he's saying. He's basically saying these guys have it. You just haven't tapped into it because they've never been asked to do it to the extent. And he's going to ask them to do it. But he also, he did say, I understand. I understand that that's how it is.
Right.
So.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. So it'll be interesting.
I see what you're saying, though, because you think that if he's like, all right, I go this way, and this way, and if you're not on board, you're out.
Well, I have to say, I have to wonder. Not that I have to say, I have to wonder. that when he says something like, they have it, they just don't get to it like the way we used to back in the day. I'm a 22-year-old coming into the league or whatever, or I'm a young guy that's been in the league a couple years. And I've seen it. You've seen it with some athletes. It's like, who's he talking to?
Exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? I bust my stones out there every game. I don't know. He must be talking about somebody else. I could understand a kid being like, well, but going to the other side, maybe that's part of Fangio's plan.
Break them down, bring them up.
Yeah, maybe.
Also, it was interesting, and it was a lot of talk before the draft, and I remember Howie Roseman was asked multiple times, how much do you consult Vic Fangio before you draft? Because a lot of people thought cornerback. And he kind of said not that much. And I thought, well, if he has a certain style, I would think the consultation would have been a little bit more, because they need a guy like Quinyon Mitchell, who's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, being a small college type of guy,
right?
Who could have gone to a bigger school if he had left Toledo. I think he's a type of player that would respond to something like that, because he's always responded to something like that. He's always had to give a little bit more to prove himself. As you mentioned, there could be some players that come in. Listen, I played at LSU. I played at Georgia. I played at USC. Who are you?
Right.
But I feel like certain personnel, I would think that he would have adapted in some way, shape, or form over 40 years.
So you have Nick Sirianni, you have Vic Fangio, you have Kellen Moore. Where does your focus, as far as coaching-wise, mostly go, Amy, to start this season for the Eagles?
I mean, the answer is everywhere. It goes everywhere. There's just so many question marks. But I think I'm most interested in, obviously, offense, because I want Christian McCaffrey. No, I'm just kidding. I think the defense.
Ray, real quick, before Amy goes on, just answer this quickly. Has that been her worst take so far, Christian McCaffrey?
It's a terrible take.
I mean,
I'm asking a bipartisan.
Yeah, I'm neutral in this. I would say she's had so many good ones so far that this would definitely be the.
I'll own it.
Okay,
I'm there.
All right. So
Brutal.
The outlook is on
Brutal.
every coach here.
Well, yes, because there's so many question marks. Because if you say the defense, that's the way that they ended that season. Really, the whole season. The 10-1 was fool's gold when it came to the defense. That's the biggest question mark as far as, can they get back? Can Jalen Carter be the guy that we saw at the beginning? Can Jordan Davis become whatever ranking that John Kincade gave him? Can he be any of those things? Can the cornerbacks come together? I looked at it because when we were going to talk about it yesterday. On this 90-man roster that's showing up for camp, for OTAs, and for camp, 14 cornerbacks. 14.
Yeah.
What? Well, okay. Is it just like it's not a wealth of riches. It's just a numbers game at this point. Like, what's an Eli
haven't
Ricks or Josh
neglected it.
Jobe? No.
Right.
So, like, are they any good? All right.
Or you're going to have
two.
a plethora of good ones. Like, is Achille Ringo going to be good? Sidney Brown, when he comes back from injury, is he going to be like, wow, this guy.
What are we doing?
And that, I got to tell you, that's the biggest gray cloud, and this sounds weird. I have so many questions about the defense, so I'll remove that. The defense, I have so many question marks. I'm just not trustworthy of it. But Sidney Brown is like that dark cloud over my head, because I just thought he might. I watched him. I'm like, this kid could be something special. Then you talk to people that are there every day. Yeah, you know what? There might be something. Then he gets the interception. He's running. You're like, oh, my God, that guy's running 22 miles an hour down the field, and he was in the right spot and all that. Just something there to work with, and then boom.
I know.
And it's a shame. His injury, it does. It has a little black cloud over this season for me. But as you said, there are a lot of defensive secondary players there.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of guys. So when you're looking at who you're most focusing on, the eyes automatically go to the defense. I think that's the biggest question mark. But it doesn't mean the offense is not going to be under scrutiny. Kellen Moore, though a good coordinator, doesn't come in with this vaunted reputation. He has a good reputation. He did well with the Cowboys until he didn't. He didn't do much last year with Justin Herbert. And you're thinking, okay, we have two number one wide receivers. 2 ones.
Right.
They have 1 and 1A. What are we going to see?
Right.
What are you going to do with Saquon Barkley? You have some of the best weapons that rival anybody else out there.
Oh, now Saquon's the best weapon.
Oh, yeah.
You're ready to play some yesterday.
Not the best, but
whatever, Aim. All right, we get back. I do have another question about the Philadelphia Eagles, and it comes off of one of our co-workers, what they had to say. It leads to a bigger question that I have out there for you in a way that we watch games. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. As we approach the 12 o'clock hour, Ray, I'm gonna start this segment with a trivia question to you. All right?
I'm listening.
Amy's love for Christian McCaffrey obviously is through the roof. Her
Correct.
hate for Saquon Barkley is down, floor level of this building. Last year, Lamar Jackson was your MVP of the National Football League. Amy believes it should have been her love, Christian McCaffrey. I don't disagree with Amy, in all honesty. Christian McCaffrey came in third place in MVP voting. Ray Dunn, who was second?
Dak Prescott.
He's good, isn't he?
It's impressive.
You know what? Just for myself, I'm gonna.
I've got the voting
You don't
breakdown.
know.
Oh,
Wow, look at you. Wow, he's really
pretty proud of himself.
he
Should
is.
Been a
How'd you have
solid
that
2
off
hours.
the top of your mind?
be.
How'd I have that
As
on-
Dak finished strong, so that's more prevalent in people's minds.
Yeah, and it's the Cowboys.
And it's
NFC
a
East.
quarterback award. That's what I don't like about what the MVP has turned into. It's turned into a quarterback-only award. Because you can't look at the Niners and think that the fact that Brock Purdy's even on this list as someone that got voted, he was fourth. You looked at the Niners and thought, yep, on that team, that's the most valuable player. Come
Yeah.
on. Come on.
I'm not kidding you. I probably, you could have said, I'll give you 5 guesses. I don't think I would have gotten Dak Prescott.
I can tell you why I got it.
Please do, because we want to be more into your life.
It was some conversation we had about Hurts. I don't know if it was a YouTube chat. I don't know if it was some disappointed tweeter at me that was upset with my evaluation of Jalen Hurts and said, well, you're just ignoring Dak Prescott was the runner-up for MVP last year. He had a really great season. And now that's stuck in my mind because
go.
when you guys tweet things at me, I think about them.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, good
That's
for you,
nice.
Ray. You're
Is
a
it
man
nice?
of the
It
people.
is nice.
Sure
It's
it is.
concerning.
No, it's not. You can never stop learning from anybody. I told
read
you
them.
that. That's
And
one
you
of my biggest
internalize
things
them.
in life.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
I remembered someone upset at me for something I said about Jalen Hurts, and it included Dak Prescott being
Yeah,
the
I
runner-up
see
for
what you're
MVP.
saying. You don't want to get bogged down too much.
Yeah.
hey, I want to tell you, 1 o'clock, Matt Breen's going to join us. He did like a series of stories this past week because it was the 50-year anniversary aim of the Flyers winning their first Stanley Cup. So he did some stories about the Broad Street Bullies, and then he also did a story about a place called Rexy's Bar.
Yeah, I read that one.
Yeah,
That's a
which
good
is
one.
over on the Black Horse Pike, right over the Walt Whitman Bridge over in South Jersey. And the Flyers frequented that place all the time. All the time back in the heyday, back then in the 70s. My sister, actually, her best friend was next door neighbors with Bernie Perron.
Oh.
And she babysat Bernie Perron's kids an awful lot. My other sister was best friends with this girl who lived right across the street from Gene Hart.
Oh,
right
wow.
near where I lived. Yeah, right across a little highway where I lived. And my sister babysat for Gene Hart an
A
awful
lot of Flyers
And
connection
I
there.
used to get so
South
excited,
Jersey.
like when they would get dropped off, I would stand at the door like,
See
is
if
that
he's-
Bernie? Is
yeah.
that Gene
Does he
Hart?
come in
Yeah.
and pick him up?
Yeah, but so we'll talk to Matt Breen at 1. Also, tomorrow, a very special guest at 1:30. We will be joined by none other than number 20 from your Philadelphia Eagles, Brian Dawkins.
Amazing.
Yes, talk about his tournament, his golf tournament that's coming up. We will be broadcasting live from that tournament on June 3rd. Amy and I will be there, as will Ray, and we'll be able to talk to Brian there also. We will have a plethora of former Eagles joining us, maybe some current ones too. So we'll have a great time out there. So we'll talk to Brian at 1:30 tomorrow. Matt Breen's going to join us at 1 o'clock today. So a lot of great stuff going on. Amy, number 2 was Micah Parsons for you,
Yes.
as far as players from any other team that you could bring on to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to throw both of those out. Who's your third?
It's probably going to be another defensive player.
Okay, because Kyle Hamilton is really on my mind.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sauce Gardner, but I was thinking Kyle Hamilton just because now because we were just talking about the secondary and how they have all these guys, but are they just a bunch of guys, right? Like, or is it going to be actual players? Do they have a wealth of riches at that? Because there's just too many question marks for me in that secondary still. I love the pick of Quinyon Mitchell. I do really like Cooper DeJean, even though I think they see him more as a safety. And when you're looking at the depth chart, I think that's where you're going to see him at. But no, I mean, if you need a proven guy that's going to come in right now, Kyle Hamilton is a good one. I'll say Sauce Gardner. I'll give you Kyle Hamilton.
Okay. One of the things I brought up teasing going into this segment was how we watch games, and I'm enamored with it. But I wonder how other people watch games, because John Kincade brought up on the show this morning, or yesterday morning it might have been, that Jordan Davis was ranked in the top 6 or 7 at his position in the NFL in a certain way.
A run stop. I looked up run stoppers. I'd love to get.
You've exhausted yourself on it.
I mean, I've got an entire list of stopping the run, stopping the pass rush. He's not. I don't know where he is.
I'm not doubting John.
I'm sure it's
John
somewhere.
read it somewhere. What I'm saying is, who the hell watched Jordan Davis this year and somehow came up with a stat that put him in the top 6 or 7 of anything at that position?
What do they measure?
Or was there only 6 guys that they label played his position, therefore he had to hit the top 6? But I just found that fascinating and started to wonder, like, oh my gosh, how are we watching games anymore? Because we do see a lot of stats off of PFF and other places that you look and you say, wow, that's a reach. That's just a reach.
Because then you wonder if they're just watching it, they're watching the all-22 tape, which means obviously the above,
right.
You see everybody out there, and they're just trying to mark down, oh, he made this move and this move, and he's got a little tally at whatever metric I've decided. Because there's no way you can watch certain games. Some guys, like when we were talking about and we were looking at Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, like, of course, you don't have to do any kind of all-22 or metric system. You just look at that guy and think, yep, that was the best defensive player I saw.
Yeah. Aaron Donald,
the
he
stats
gets double teamed. Yeah, but guess what? He's also
home.
sacking and killing people out there. Also, okay. When we get back, don't forget Matt Breen is going to join us at 1:00. But I have a question for Amy concerning the Eagles and concerning what she needs to see during these maybe OTAs or training camp. All of that. We'll have all that and more. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Joined today by Amy Fadul, as we will take you up to the best show ever. Ray Dunn producing. The bilingual, as we learned today, Ray Dunn, along with many other adjectives that we often throw his way.
Très bien.
Brendan Petrilli is answering the phones for us today. We'd like to hear from you. We have a fun little topic. We threw it out there, but only quickly yesterday because it was getting towards the end of the show, and I didn't think it was going to get as much traction as it did. So we're going to throw it out there to you again today, and that is this. Take any of the 4 teams you won in the professional landscape of Philadelphia and think of a player from another team that you would add to the team that is currently constructed here now. We've had a lot of great answers for the Eagles, except for one, as Amy went with Christian McCaffrey. We've had a lot of good answers for the Phillies. The Sixers is obviously wide open, so that's a fun game to play. And the Flyers, we all agreed on one player.
It's wide open, though, too.
It is wide open. And somebody even came in with, was it our YouTube page or text or something? Somebody said, oh, they have the guy. And it's Matvei Michkov. They believe that he
Ray
is going
loves
to be the
Michkov.
guy. Ray does. Now, do you have a Michkov jersey?
No.
We don't know what number he's going to be yet.
Yeah.
I would
We do not.
assume.
So I will get the sweater when it comes out.
Oh,
Well
the sweater.
done with the sweater, Cheddar.
I can't say sweater.
No?
No, I never have in my whole
You
life.
just say jersey?
Sweater.
Now, I don't get jerseys. Like, I've never had like, we didn't have any money growing up. Like, so I didn't get any jerseys or anything.
But also
One
wasn't as
time-
big of a deal. Now it's like a
Now
thing.
it's huge, yeah.
Fashion.
One time, my parents got me for my birthday or something, a Flyers knockoff sweater. I don't even think
Sweater?
it was a sweater. And I went over to a store. I'll never forget this. It was called I. Goldberg's. And they did the pressing of, like, if you wanted your
like
name
the
or
iron
something.
on or whatever?
Right. And I went over there, and I don't know. It might have been a friend of mine's mom that worked there. And I did. I played it to a T, like, if I get the name Clark on the back of this with the number 16, do I have to pay for it? And she was like, no, Bobby.
No.
And she did. So I went around as Bobby Clark one year for Halloween. I got 2 black pieces of gum and stuck them on my front teeth. I wore a Flyers like ski hat with the little
Pom-pom?
pom-pom on top. Yeah. So that was really the only
I would dominate charades, by the way.
jersey. What do you mean?
Because like you're just doing like random
Yeah,
things,
that
and I'm
was
trying
good.
to like
Pom-pom.
I'm there.
I can rock a pom-pom. I don't mind pom-poms on top of
Yeah,
a
I think
a
I
ski
like
hat.
it. I think it's a good look.
It looks better.
It does look better.
You think?
I
Now,
think it's a better
I
look.
see it a lot at Eagles games. A lot
I
of
don't
people
know. I
rock
like
this.
skull caps better because
No?
skull caps I thought kept you warmer. Now, a friend of mine, Anthony, God rest his soul, 2 years ago, it was, I don't want to get deep in the story. Anyway, his sister-in-law works for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So the last time we went over to see him before he passed, and I think we all kind of knew it was the last time, he had a box at the door that he said to us. He was laying on the couch. He's like, grab yourself one. And he has these Eagles ski caps. Oh, my God. They are insulated. Aim, if I put it on in here right now, I'd be sweating. That's how good they
And
are.
it's like right on-
And no, it's not. It's the pom-pom ski
Yeah.
that you fold up. Oh, my gosh.
Some
they
might
are
call them a
so-
toboggan or a toque if you're from Canada. A
Oh,
toque.
is that right? Mm-hmm. My God, she knows. She knows.
Fine,
you know
I'll
her
come in
friend.
tomorrow with hat knowledge. Jeez, Amy, you're making it tough on me.
These are like random things. So Bob asked me during one of the breaks, do you remember stuff well? And usually, I think you meant it as like if you have something to do, like getting your
Yeah.
oil change or whatever. The stuff that I have in my brain is ridiculous.
Oh, my friends will.
There's no reason I need to know any of the things I just told you,
Yeah.
but I do.
I told you that my friend Rock and I were at lunch a few weeks ago. We literally started talking the stats of a Nebraska 1982
doing?
national championship game because the guy that lived across the street from him, Mike Rozier, was on that team and blah, blah, blah. But, like, we're sitting there going back and forth. Another one of our friends is there. And he's like, you guys are nuts, man.
Yeah. And
Like, we were off on the score. We thought it was like 32-31. It might have been 31-30, whatever it was. But that's how insane we are with all that stuff.
That's when you remember it. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, do I have to get my oil changed?
But that's what I was saying to you. So I almost grabbed a pen, and I might. I don't have it in my head that I have to run out of here and get my oil changed today
Leave
because
yourself
I have an
a
appointment.
reminder on your phone.
I don't like that.
Then it would alert you and be like, hey, Ray, take your car.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not real good at like I don't look at my phone at all when I'm driving. I'm not, like last night, my wife calls me. She's in the bedroom, I'm in the other room. And she's like, I know you were looking at your phone. Didn't you see my text? I was like, I was looking at my phone because I'm looking up sports stuff for work for tomorrow to see if there's anything that could be. I wasn't looking at texts. And she's like, well, I texted you such and such. I don't remember. Believe it or not, I don't remember what it was. But,
Wow.
Yeah.
That 1980 game, though.
Yeah, but like a
Wisconsin.
1980 game, I can remember my
Nebraska.
friends' phone numbers from when we were growing up. Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
They're
That's
landlines.
It's a Canadian thing. The toque is a Canadian.
So how many phone numbers in your phone? I assume you have Sean's number memorized.
do.
Your husband's. Do you have your kids? Well, I'm sure.
Sean's 9, so he does not have a phone.
Okay, what grade is he in?
3rd.
All right, yeah, we waited up until. All right, Bobby, if he's listening, he's going to say, see, you guys treated me different. We hear that all the time. I don't think he got a cell phone. Yeah, you would know.
Oldest children are treated different.
Well, they are, yeah, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Hell, I'll admit it. I don't know what I'm doing with the 4th one either. But he didn't get a cell phone. I believe it was 7th grade. And then it dwindled down, I think, when Jenna, the youngest, she was like 5th grade.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably average now. But no, I know my parents' phone numbers off the top of my head.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I know Donna's, and that's it.
I know Sean's. I know a couple. I know, but to your point, like I can remember my home phone number from when I was growing up. I know that right now.
Oh, yeah. But I'm not
And I know
kidding you.
some of my friends' ones.
I know
'Cause you
almost
have to,
all
the
my
thing
friends.
is, we used to have to call. Now you don't have to call. You just look at their name
No.
and you press the number.
Exactly.
We used to have to pick up a phone and dial those digits. Not
Have you-
like it wasn't a ring. Or
Have
maybe
you
yours
seen the
was.
kids?
Sorry. Yes, where they look at it.
Really? Oh,
Well,
my
you,
God.
Well, you looked at me crazy when I said that. I was like, well, maybe yours
I didn't
was.
look at you crazy. I looked
All
at
right.
you absolutely normal.
Or maybe it's because you were already moving on to your next topic. But
No,
I
I wasn't.
have seen the video where these kids, you give them like a CD and they look at it, and then they look at the phone or like a rotary phone
The rotary phone
or
thing.
a radio with a cassette player in
Yeah.
it. They have no idea like how that works or where the CD or the best one was the floppy disk. And they looked at a computer and like, what do I do with this? I'm thinking like, wow.
My favorite was the rotary phone one where they had two 15-year-olds. They set the clock at 15 minutes and they gave them a phone number. And they said, here, call it. And watching these kids, and I don't think they got it.
No, they didn't.
I don't think they got it. Like, that is hysterical. And your little comment was not.
I'm
but
sorry. I
It
thought
was
it's because
good.
you looked at me. And I did the circle motion for the rotary.
2 phone numbers memorized.
Just 2?
Just 2.
Yours and your dad's.
My home phone
Oh,
when I grew
yeah.
up?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Of course yours. But
and 610-632-0975.
Oh, there you
Other
go.
than
There
that,
you
I got
go.
nothing for you.
There
yeah,
you
like
go.
the hotline number that we have our guests call into, or if I'm going to be a guest on somebody's show or one of us is,
Yeah, it's a
we
different
call
number.
into a hotline number. I have to look up on my phone hotline
Yeah.
and then hit it in order to,
I don't
call
have
it.
my
Yeah.
parents.
No?
My brother, I think, might be the closest one because I think he has a number close to mine that I think I know. But
You could like guess it.
I think I could guess it. But there's a chance that if I dialed that number and called someone, it would be not my
Not them.
brother, and then I'd be
Yeah.
in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I know my credit card number. I know my bank account. And
I know
routing
all
number.
my bank account
Yeah, see,
numbers.
no, you should
like,
be-
I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah, but you don't. It's because you don't have to use the phone
It
numbers
is.
anymore.
Yeah.
That's
It is.
No need.
No, I still remember my high school coach's phone number.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a deep dive.
That's pretty good, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But
But I also worked landscaping for him for a lot of years.
So you had
also,
to call him
there
quite a
was,
bit.
yeah.
There you go.
Hey, 12 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirthvac.com. All right, Aim. Today's it. OTAs.
woo,
That's something to get
12:45.
really pumped about. I mean, it's cool. Like, you'll
90
look in,
guys up in there.
you'll look on the news tonight and you'll say, oh, there's Jalen Hurts throwing a football. He still knows how to do that. Oh, there's A.J. Brown. He caught the football. Like, I don't get a lot out of it. I always felt bad when I was in the newspaper business, and a lot of times I was this guy, that would have to go out there and just find a story. Now, it's easy when you have 90 guys and you're like, hey, Billy Joe, how did you get here? Oh, funny story. Oh, click. There it
Exactly.
is. So that's why you're probably going to read a lot of stories over the next couple of weeks about guys that we'll never hear from again because, there's going to be the obvious stories all year long. But stories coming out of OTAs, I'll take one thing off the board, Aim. Injury, obviously none of us wants to see that. We don't want anything to happen there. So we're just not even going to bring that up. We're going to wipe that off the board. But is there anything with this particular team, besides the fact that you hate their running game, that a story you need to see,
Obviously.
that you need to see or want to see coming out of early parts of OTAs and then leading into training camp?
Probably two. And I touched on one of them just because when I was looking at all the invitees and who is on this 90-man roster right now, in looking 14 cornerbacks really sticks out. That is a large percentage.
Yeah.
And I want to see what these guys look like, right? I mean, as much as you can in an OTA situation, they're going to be in shells and shorts. And then the third receiver, big surprise with Devontae Parker retiring. Paris Campbell, they have a couple of day 3 receivers that they drafted. Are those guys, are they going to get a good look, or are they going to see maybe none of those guys are going to be the number 3 receiver, and then they go outside? Because there's some guys that haven't been signed that are available. Miko Hardman, Michael Thomas, so who has some injury history as well. So
and feet, that's never good,
So, but when he's been healthy, it looks great. But it's like, all right, what are you gambling on? So I don't know. I thought that was it. That I wasn't as interested in the third receiver, just because your 1 and 1A are so good. But now that they don't really have one, that might be something that I would glance at. I'll probably try to go over there. I won't get over there today, but I think I'll try to go over there later this week, just to see, and then talk to some of the guys that were there. I know Barrett's going today, so chat with him and see, what it does look like at that third receiver position.
Well, see, that is one of mine because, yes, you're right. The number 1 and 1A are phenomenal. But this is how my mind works also. That's really bad if you lose one of them.
Right.
You got to plug in a big, big hole. That's why it is incumbent for that number 3 to kind of be there. So that you hit the nail on the head on one of them. One of mine also is I don't love that they don't really have a backup tight end. Like, no, I wanted a name. I wanted a draft pick. I wanted something that I thought, could really. Now, the kid, Uzoma.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there a lot there? He's 31 years old now, kind of been all over.
Well, talk to me why you want it. Is it because Goddard has some injury issues, history?
The fall off when Dallas Goddard isn't there is just incredible.
Yeah, because last year they did not solve. I mean, Calcaterra, it wasn't. You weren't. Right. There wasn't anybody. You're like, oh, look at that guy. He could be a viable starter. I think when you look at the second in command on tight end, like the secondary guy, you want him to have first team potential.
Yeah, I want him to be able to do something well that I notice, and it's not like staying in and chip blocking.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm sorry, that doesn't really excite me, But maybe with this offense, their thinking is, Goddard's going to be good. If he's not there, we're still okay putting in an extra blocker when you have Saquon Barkley maybe coming out of the backfield, 2 catch passes or things like that. My other question that I have, do you think any of these rookies are starters?
Yeah, I think Quinyon Mitchell is a starter.
So you're going to put Slay out there at one corner.
Yes.
And Quinyon Mitchell is your other starting corner.
I am.
Would you? All right, let me ask how Amy Fadul. You've just been anointed head coach or defensive coordinator, whichever title you choose. Would you go in with him saying, hey, Quinyon, you're the starter? Or would it be more like, I'm taking a look at everybody. Slay and Bradbury are there now, but I'm taking a look at everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's 2 schools of thought with that, right? So if you go with it's an open competition, everybody can earn their place, especially you rookies. Then maybe it's a feel thing. Maybe you see how Quinyon Mitchell would react to that. Here's a guy we were talking about earlier, a smaller college player, maybe with a chip on his shoulder, wants to prove that he is a first-round pick. He is the highest cornerback drafted. He is the only cornerback drafted by the Eagles in the last 20 years. Like, they earned that. And part of me is like, no, we're showing you that we believe in you.
Yeah.
You're our guy. Show us why you're our guy. I lean a little bit more towards that. I would like to see Quinyon Mitchell's brain inside of it when he says, all right, no, if he says, all right, you have to be competing with James Bradbury. I'm like, all right, bet, let's go. Like, I'll go ahead and beat that guy. But I think for me, as if I was a defensive coordinator, I would appoint him, say, we believe in you. We're going to give you. He loves Slay. Quinyon Mitchell has said he's modeled his game after Slay. All right. Now you're our 2 gunners on the outside.
What do you do with James Bradbury?
He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. When do you do that?
Maybe I get through these OTAs, but he does not report to camp for me.
Okay. All right.
I think they've got so many guys back there. I don't know what. Give them a chance to be on another team. That would be me.
Okay. Now, I'm looking at a depth chart from OurLads.com, which is pretty reliable, pretty good. They have also Cooper DeJean as a starter, as your
Safety?
nickelback.
Oh.
Yeah. So it looks like they have him inside instead of Avante Maddox.
Yeah, okay.
What do you do with Avante Maddox if that's the case? Same thing as Bradbury?
I mean, Avante Maddox has done everything. He's just had some unfortunate injury history.
Yeah.
I think you would try to do what's best for him as a player. And if you feel like Cooper DeJean is your guy and he's going to be your guy over Avante Maddox and there's not a competition there, because that's what you're saying. If you're jettisoning Avante Maddox, you're saying there is no competition at this particular nickel, then I think you jettison him so he can sign on with another team. I think that that's something the Eagles have been known to do, that a guy that's been their guy before, and if just a numbers game, injury history, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, they've usually set those guys up so they can latch on early with another team.
I'm trying to think, like, on game days when we're doing pregame show, they'll come out with the inactives, and we'll know who the actives are. Do they usually carry, like, 5 or 6 corners for a game?
It's just because there's so many different schemes they run with those guys. You know, when you're looking at, like, the different, like, a bigger nickel type of, so they have extra guys. I feel like it's at least 5, if not 6. Seems like a lot, though, doesn't it?
Because I'm looking at the depth chart now. At left cornerback, they have Slay, Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers, who is really interesting. That's another one of my stories. Like, where is he? He was really good in 2022 before the 1-year suspension. To me, at 26 years old, not playing for 1 year doesn't mean a lot. To me, it doesn't. Okay. It doesn't. Like, you're still in the prime. My God, prime of your career. Maybe, just maybe, you got a year off from getting hit, from losing your legs, all of those things. Maybe you get yourself in even better shape without the wear and tear.
Right.
And you could be okay. He's very interesting to me. You also have Josh Jobe. When you go to the right cornerback, you got Quinyon Mitchell, obviously, Bradbury, Eli Ricks, Zach McPherson, who had an injury last year. Then you go to the nickel or inside slot guy, and you have Cooper DeJean, you have Avante Maddox, Tyler Hall, I don't know about that, and Mario Goodrich, who they did keep around on the practice squad, I believe, last year. That's a lot of people.
It is. I'm telling you. When I was counting up, I was like, how many do I have?
Yeah, you said 12.
14.
Oh, 14. Wow.
14.
Yeah, I don't.
That's a lot.
That is a
on
lot.
a 90-man roster
That
for
is
one
a
position.
Lot. Yeah.
So that's why I was like, okay, what are we going to see?
2 that you drafted. It's interesting. It's going to be, there's a lot of interesting stories, and I leaned more towards, I did talk about a backup tight end, but to me, that's a story a couple of weeks in. My stories, first and foremost, have to go to the defensive side of the ball. Exactly what is Vic Fangio looking for? What is expected out of a Bryce Huff, out of Isaiah Rodgers? Now, 2 veterans that haven't played here yet, that maybe you are. Like, we've had some people, I don't know if Bill Colarulo did or not, but we have had some people that said they wouldn't be surprised if Isaiah Rodgers is starting this year for this team. That's how good he was playing in 2022.
Exactly. Yeah. Then that, like you said, that was his level. He was a starter in 2022. You don't know what he's going to look like when he shows up, but he certainly didn't have a 17-game NFL season to break him down last year.
Now, this is funny. Last year at punt return, Britton Covey was one of the best in the league.
At times, he was the best. I don't know where he finished his ranking, but for a good chunk of the season.
Top 3, I would say.
He was always in there. Very good. He's a numbers guy, too. Do you keep him as a...
He's second on the depth chart for punt returners behind Cooper DeJean.
I know.
Yeah, that's wild. Kick returner, they have Isaiah Rodgers as number 1 on this. So it's fun. There's a lot of questions surrounding this Eagles team, and they start to get answered a little bit with OTAs starting out today. So we'll take more of a look at that. When we get back, no, I don't want to talk about the Celtics, but I do.
Let's do it.
It just bothers me. They just bother the hell out of me. So I do have something to ask about them. It's not specifically them, but it's more towards the building of the 76ers. Because when times come to the way they are now, where the Sixers are out of it and you're down to a Final Four, it's natural. You look and you see, okay, what could the Sixers do to be more like that team? Boston, I would say, is the prohibitive favorite to win this NBA championship. Well, let's look how they're made up. Are they something that you would want to copy if you're the 76ers? Amy's here with us until 2. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays, 97.5, The Fanatic. Tyrone was just in. As we said, it's one of my favorite parts of the day
Yes.
when he comes in and says hello, and we get to have a full segment of talking about. Well, we
Usually
were
something
last
random.
I heard, because I had to talk to Ray for a second, was you guys were talking about horses and studs and stuff like
Horse
that.
racing, yes.
Yeah, it goes all over the place. It runs the gamut.
It does run.
But
the
Amy
gamut.
was an expert on that, too, having spent time in Lexington, Kentucky. And
expert
there's
strong.
There's
Expert
just
strong.
not much you don't know, Amy.
I do what I can. I retain a lot of knowledge, a lot of it garbage. But if you're ever interested in Quizzo, I'm usually a good Quizzo partner.
Tell me something you never want to do in life.
I think I never want to do.
Yeah, like people, I've had friends that have jumped out of planes and all that stuff, and it came up on the Phillies broadcast the other night that Ed Wade used to jump out of planes. He got stuck in a tree, actually, in my hometown one time. It was the talk of the
After
town.
jumping out of a plane?
He jumped out. Yeah, there was an airport right near my old house
nightmarish.
in South Jersey that I would be sitting outside, and you would hear the planes buzzing overhead like all day long. And then you hear like, and you look up. No, I'm not kidding. If it was early enough on a Saturday
You
morning.
would hear the screams?
You could hear the screams,
Well, then
yeah.
you probably shouldn't be jumping out of a plane if you're
No,
screaming.
but it's obvious. Some
Exciting.
people screamed. But, yeah, so you'd see it, and then you hear the whoosh, because you'd hear their parachutes open and stuff like that. Anyway, it was brought up the other day. Ruben Amaro talked about Ed Wade. I think he said had 42 jumps, and he did bring
That's
up
a
the one
lot.
that he got stuck in a tree. It was right outside of my neighborhood. But what's something, because I was just looking on Twitter. Think of something you would never do. I was just looking on Twitter, and there's a guy walking around in the dark in Florida with a miner's hat on. And I'm like, oh, what's this guy doing? And the caption was like, would you do this? And he's looking, he's like, there it is.
Something with
And
bugs?
a boa constrictor, like 12 feet long, comes lunging out after him, and he's like, yeah, here it is. And he moves aside, and then boom, clamps the thing from behind the head and uses two hands, and the boa's trying to wrap him up. And he's like, yeah, I got it. And he's all excited. I'm like, no, I have a thing with snakes. I don't like them, Amy. Like little garter snakes and all that stuff, that's fine. No, those other ones, like, no. I went for a run walk one time when I was in downtown Phoenix, okay? And I was going down. I went past, like, the ballpark and stuff like that, and I see a worker on a ladder, like, up in a tree, and he's got, like, those, pinchers or whatever. So I'm like, oh, wow, I'm looking up. He goes, you might want to stand back here, bud. And I'm like, why? What you got going on? He goes, you really want to know? And I said, yeah. And he's like, hold on a second. Shoot, snips, and there is a rattlesnake. Like, downtown up in a tree.
Well, it's Phoenix.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
They scare the hell out of me. I never want to be around snakes. People, go stand in where cobras are, and if you don't move, they won't bite. No,
Yeah, don't stand
I'm
where
out on
cobras are. I feel
snakes.
like that's a bad idea.
Well, I just saw something on Twitter, too. A guy, like, years ago spent 40 straight hours in a thing full of poisonous cobra snakes just to prove a point.
What point?
That's how he died. Later on in life, he got bit by one
Shocking.
and died.
No.
What wouldn't you do?
I don't know. People that set themselves up for those things, that's okay. That's just, you're just canceling.
You're asking
yourself
for
out.
it. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
sorry.
saying?
I don't know. There's not a lot that I try not to say no definitively, but I do not enjoy. Like, I look at, and I see it on Instagram and all these things, like in Australia, I feel like they have the largest spiders I've ever seen. They look like you could put a leash on them and walk. They have a lot of different animals down there. I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I needed to tend to nor care for or look after large spiders.
Okay.
I've held a tarantula and I made it through. I've held snakes. I tried
made
to
it through.
I was fine with it. But it's like I would never put myself, like, I wouldn't want to jump out of a plane, but if I had to, I would do it.
Okay, well, yeah, I think if we had to, sure. I don't think I'd do
Like,
it for recreational
I
fun.
mean, like, for our 40th birthday, everybody wants to go do this. I'm like, I'm really not how I would want to spend it, but let's go. We'll do it.
Ray, anything in life that people might do for pleasure that you would just be like, nah, I'm good. I really don't have to do that.
You brought up the snakes thing. When I was on Bourbon Street back in whatever January it was, there was one guy that had it, and it's like, showing it. Even my mentality on Bourbon Street was keep me far away from that snake. I want nothing to do with snakes, but something recreationally that people do that I will never do again, that I'm done with. I've officially decided at my old age, my ripe age of 24, I'm done with for the rest of my life. I'm no longer ice skating. I'm done with it.
Okay.
All right.
I can't do it. It doesn't bring me much joy.
You're out.
I'm out for
I
good.
was never that good at ice skating either.
I'm out.
I still wouldn't, like, if my kid said, let's go ice skating, yeah, I'd lace them up and go.
I'm
I
done.
wouldn't care because I'm not any worse probably than I was 20 years ago or whatever, but I don't know. So,
Not doing it again.
okay.
Finished.
All right. Some weird stuff. I don't think I would take a charge from Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, no. Who does that for enjoyment?
Well, you say you do some things out of necessity. If we're down 1 and he's driving the lane and I'm standing there and I can get
what's my
position.
salary?
Yeah, I mean, your life's going to flash before your eyes.
I mean, that's it for me, but that's a heck of a way to go.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think I
Oh.
would like to be remembered as the guy that took the charge on Shaq.
Who do you
I
think,
would like to be that
Who do you
guy.
think would be the hardest charge? Because I feel like when I see like LeBron James coming down, people are
Yeah,
just
that'd be
like
tough.
a business decision. Joel Embiid, people are like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah,
It's kinda
I'm out on them.
Counterpoint to all this, I now realize my limitations size-wise and how much I'm really not doing much to slow him down. Do I want to end up on that poster?
Yeah, that's how you.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you become a real big fan of swiping the basketball out of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to take a charge. Our high school coach was big on taking charges, and I didn't mind. I took awful lot. We would have competitions, all that stuff, whatever. I was a sophomore going to a game against Camden High. They're like number 2 in the country, and we were only down by like I don't know, maybe 45. And so that's why he put me in the game. And they come down on a 2-on-1. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to take a charge on this 6'7" guy. The bottom of his. And this is not kidding. The bottom of his sneaker hit my forehead. I didn't do much to prevent anything.
No,
right
that's where you
then
try
and
that
there.
reach-in foul.
No, it was pretty much done. So, all right. Now, look, when you get to this point in playoffs, whether it's hockey, football, baseball, or in this case, basketball, and your team, being the 76ers, isn't in the competition anymore, you have to take a look and say, okay, how could maybe the Sixers help themselves like those teams are built and become that? And it's been a big discussion and kind of I'll just call it a discussion on the morning show of, do you go older with the proven stars? Do you try to build with younger players? Which you really can't because Joel Embiid only has a certain amount of time left. But it got me curious. Like, how did these Final Four teams get the players that they have? Was it trades? Was it draft? How long they've been in the league? I think I can safely say among us that Boston is probably the favorite to win the NBA title.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to. I'm saying they're probably the favorite. So I thought, okay, well, then let's look at that team and see how they're built. See if the Sixers can somehow become kind of like them. All right, let's start out. Jason Tatum. Got him in a draft, back from Duke, 3rd overall. Sixers have a guy like that.
Yes, they do.
And Joel Embiid. Tatum is in his 7th year in the league. 8th year in the league.
Yeah, he was in the Markel Fultz draft.
Yeah, 2017. It's kind of surprising. I mean, he hasn't had the success of winning a championship. To me, it's surprising he's been in that long because he just still seems like and he is young. He's only 26 years old. But, all right, so that's a guy, that's your superstar. That's a guy you're talking about there. Al Horford, 37-year-old, has bounced around the league, is kind of that glue kind of guy. And I'm keeping Porzingis out of this because they're still winning without him. Well, the Sixers, I think that kind of guy can easily be had, right? And maybe, just maybe, some may call Nick Batum that. Then you go to your point guard, and it's Drew Holiday, who's bounced around the league, 17th overall pick, borderline all-star now, right? Am I right on that?
Yeah,
I don't pay attention to
He was chosen to be on Team USA. I think people value him quite a bit.
Okay, 33 years old, a steadying point guard. I would call him, all right, upwards of a star.
Yeah.
Has had a really good career. That's nothing outlandish that it doesn't seem you couldn't find.
Probably best on-ball defender there is.
Right. That's very good. Has one skill that is up and above everybody else. Correct. In Derek White, you have a guy that was drafted in 2017, again, 8 years in the league, 29th overall pick by the San Antonio Spurs. Now, a guy that had a really good year. He's averaged like, I want to say like, 17 points a game, 15 points a game. A guy that can hurt you on the three-point shooting. But again, better than a guy, but a guy on a really good team, right? I mean, he's
a guy that can step up when you ask him to.
Exactly. That's a great way of putting it, Aim. And then you go to Jaylen Brown. Now, that's another really good one. 3rd overall pick.
All-star.
All-star, scorer. I could almost compare Tyrese Maxey to him, right? Maybe you can have an advantage if you're the Sixers with a Tyrese Maxey against a Jaylen Brown. Now, Jaylen Brown, obviously, a bigger, stronger type guard at 6'6", and can do some things maybe defensively a little bit stronger than a Tyrese Maxey. Then you go down and you look. Okay, last night off the bench. This is amazing. Sam Hauser came off the bench for them last night. Got them a whole 9 minutes. Didn't really do much of anything. Okay, that's fine. Luke Cornett comes off the bench. Guy from Vanderbilt that was taken 28th overall back in the 90. I'm sorry. No, he wasn't even taken. He wasn't even drafted. I'm sorry. Went to Vanderbilt. He's in his 6th season. So Luke Cornett comes off the bench last night, gives you 13 minutes of nothingness, like 4 rebounds, 5 points. Then your big guy off the bench, 23 minutes. He gets you double figures. His name is Peyton Pritchard.
Oh, Peyton Pritchard. Gross.
First-round pick, 26 overall from Oregon. A guy that you're like, all right, it's 6'1", he can shoot the ball and stuff like that. That's it. That's who the Celtics played last night.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they won Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final last night. Look, that's starting 5, and of course they do have Porzingis, and when Porzingis is there, Al Horford comes out of the lineup. Okay, you have a 35-year-old that comes out of the lineup, and he's going to come off the bench and be a glue guy. Not real hard to find. Why?
Yeah, but their 2 stars are elite stars.
Their 2 stars are elite. Do the Sixers have 2 elite stars right now?
They do.
Joel Embiid. Right, okay, they do.
Are they that
kind of
level?
downplay it.
I did. I don't know that Tyrese Maxey is at the level of Jaylen Brown just yet.
Ooh, that's a good question.
And you know me, Tyrese Maxey, my guy.
Yeah.
It's my guy. Love him. He is an all-star level player. He's an all-star, first-time all-star, most improved player, a guy that is on the up-and-up trajectory. Ceiling is, to quote Michael Jordan, ceiling is the roof. It's crazy.
Okay, so let me put it another way. If I were to say to you, take the tandem of either Embiid and Maxey or Tatum and Brown, where are you leaning?
I mean, I have to say this out loud, and you're going to make me say it.
No, it's an honest, because I think it's a pretty decent exercise that we have.
It's Tatum and Brown.
Okay. By a wide margin?
Not a wide margin, but a margin nonetheless.
Okay, the Sixers go out and get a star this offseason.
Then I'm back in.
Okay, so then you're going to take the Embiid Maxey star over the Tatum Holiday Brown.
Yeah, and
then they have a
the
Porzingis
thing that I
in
look
there.
at, it's when you say the name Drew Holiday, the reason, and I don't think it's a hill that I need to die on because I think a lot of people would agree. The reason that the Bucks won that championship is because of Drew Holiday. The Bucks miss him more than they miss anybody. They have to try to replace him they went offense over defense, and you saw what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
First round, done.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard, nice player. Very
Right.
good offensively. He did not fit on that team. Drew Holiday is a guy that can fit anywhere. The fact that he was a Sixer is a little painful, but he is such a nice complement to that team and the way that they play. Those 2 stars know when it's their turn. Going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show with the Phillies. Answering the call, how they all Jaylen Brown absolutely answers the call when Tatum's having an off night. Last year in that Celtics series, Tatum did not have a good series against the Sixers at all. He had a good game
He had
7.
a good fourth quarter and 6 also, yeah.
Yeah, in game 6 as well. So, no surprise. But in the other games, Jaylen Brown was that guy. He's the guy. That's a 1-2 punch that's pretty, I think it's a little bit underrated. I think there was somebody said, and maybe you said it yesterday, that someone had said that Jason Tatum was overrated. Wow. I don't know how he's
I think
overrated.
somebody on our YouTube page said that. I said underrated, and somebody on the YouTube page said overrated.
That's a great player right
I just
there.
thought it was interesting
It
because
is.
we are doing the
it seems
comparison.
like they're not that far away, but then when you go like that, like piecemeal by piecemeal, but then you put it together.
Is that fit? Right? I mean, it might look like fit more than star.
Right, yeah.
And then, we talked about depth going into the playoffs. Oh, this Sixers team, for once, they have a lot of depth. I just named Boston. They had one guy coming off the bench.
Luke Cornett and Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, and then you look at Indiana, really 2 guys coming off the bench for them, in T.J. McConnell and Obi Toppin.
2 great players that fit into that system well.
Exactly. So it's such an interesting take of how you go forward. And we'll talk more about it when we get back. Amy's here with us until 2. We'll take you right up to the best show ever with Tyrone, with Ricky, with Silvana. It's going to be a great day for you. Hope you're having a great one. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yeah, it's supposed to close it out for you, but where there's a will, there's a way. And they had that three-pointer from Brown that ended up tying up the game. They go to overtime, and then Tatum takes advantage from there.
Yeah.
And you see a partnership there where when one guy's not going, the other guy stepped up in that moment. And that's not to understate also the fact Drew Holiday in that fourth quarter was putting up points. But it just was one of those moments where I was like, you know what? As much as it sucks to watch the Celtics do this right now, at least I feel like I do have that running mate with the superstar I have on my team that is going to get it done in the moment. And they could build out a team with, guys like you're suggesting on the roster. But it was a nice thought in my head of last night. Like, you know what? Yeah, I think the Sixers would have that guy to make that play in that moment.
Yeah, and it's weird when you do look at the Celtics and you look like at a Derek White and so on and so forth, a Pritchard. Those guys, like, you can get them easily enough. To grow them to the players that they become with the Celtics, that seems to be, to me, the bigger challenge.
All
right,
let's keep doing it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's go to Will on the cell. Will, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
All right. I just wanted to piggyback off what we're talking. I don't think it takes another third star because we have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. We've been there and done that with Harden and, of course, other players that we had. Right now, I would like to move around in a draft if we could, because the one player I would try to get, if it was possible, is Herb Jones. I mean, I think we need defensive role players around Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, to me. But I still would want to get Laurie Marketing, whatever it takes to get him. What do we keep? What are we holding on to the draft assets for?
Yeah, I like Marketing a lot. Thanks a lot, Will. Appreciate it. He said something like, I don't think you need to start. You tried it with you tried it with. Okay, but this year you also didn't get out of the first round when you didn't have that third star.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's two ways that, and look, I understand what Will's saying, and wings that can play defense, that can hit shots, maybe that you can grow like a Celtics team grows their guys. Yeah, that would be great. So we have some text, did you say, Ray, or we off with them? It's okay.
No, we do have some text.
Okay,
here, yes.
And it was talking about our old subject, right?
Yeah, it was people looking back at if you could add any player to one of the teams in town. We got two people that voted on something that I think Amy is going to love here. We got Mike checking in from Myerstown. We got Edwin checking in from Philadelphia. Both of them looking to bring LeBron James in.
LeBron James, let's do it.
I have no problem with that at all.
Come on through.
No chance, no how. I don't care. Yes, bring him here. I love the idea of LeBron James here. Absolutely. I don't think any of us, except for one guy on the morning show, would disagree with that.
No, I don't think many of us here at the station are disagreeing with that.
In the world.
Well, we've got some people that want.
Yeah,
we just took the no star call, and that would be if you're against stars, you're against LeBron. Now I'm a little upset by this text.
Oh, I don't like you to be upset.
One kind of hurts me a little bit, and it sounds like it hurts the person that sent it. Bob, I'm really sorry, but I would love Jason Tatum on the Sixers. Perfect size in between Maxey and Joe. Defense, 3-point shooting. Karate Mark is the one that sent that in.
I don't know why he said sorry, Bob. Jason Tatum, I called yesterday. I even said he was underrated. I think he's a killer. I think I put him on the Sixers team.
I would. No, that wasn't your choice.
No, it wasn't my choice, but
you would.
I think when his name came up, I said, yeah, I'd love for him to be there. Yeah. Oh, I love Jason Tatum's game. Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's giving a Celtic credit. It's really where
that's Karate Mark doing that. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's why it did probably
hurts
pain
a little
him.
bit.
Yeah,
it does.
did pain
It does.
Yeah, there was pain there.
It hurt for me to read it, honestly.
Yeah.
I felt for him.
I almost have to move on because if I think too much about it, I'm going to be more hurt. Yeah. Hurt her.
Kevin?
Yeah, that's another name. That's somebody who killed you. That's a Sixer in years past. Okay, when we get back, Matt Breen, we're going to talk to at 1 o'clock. He did a really interesting pieces this past week about a 50-year anniversary. Yes, it's before a lot of yours time, but when you hear the story about it, and I don't want to say fortunate enough to see it. I guess I'm just old enough that I saw it, but I know what that team was all about. And it is one of the most, in my opinion, I told this to Joe Watson, one of the Flyers players at that time. It's one of the most interesting sports stories of my lifetime. So stay tuned for that as we get into it with Matt Breen. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays 97.5 The Fanatic. Amy Fadul with us today, along with Ray Dunn, our exquisite producer. Just someone that has no boundary when it comes to talent, as we find out each and every minute of every day, Amy.
Absolutely.
It never stops. Speaking of talent, on our Comcast Business Hotline from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, Matt Breen. Matt, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, Bob. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. I thought it really interesting this week. Now, I told our audience before that a lot of them may not have been around for when the Flyers won their first Stanley Cup, which was 50 years ago. But you wrote some stories about it. I think it's one of the most compelling sports stories, not only in Philadelphia of my lifetime, but overall in my lifetime, about how that team was built, what they were like. It was so not ordinary from NHL standards. Just give us a little background of what you wrote about as far as that Flyers team and what they were like.
Yeah, definitely not ordinary and would never be able to happen in today's day and age. And the NHL 50 years ago was not, it was a professional sport, but it was not, one of the top, it was, the fourth professional sport. And the guys were all from Canada. No one in Philadelphia knew what hockey was in the late 60s, early 70s. And these guys come down here making decent money, livable money. They weren't poor, but they weren't multi-millionaires, and they were just normal people. And here they went out of their way also to build a roster that was tough and that could, impose their will on other teams, because what happened in the early Flyer years, they made the playoffs a couple years in a row, but they always either got, swept or knocked out real quick in the playoffs and got intimidated, got bullied. So Ed Snyder was like, never again, not going to happen. So they built the Broad Street Bullies, and Joe Watson said they were a team that played hard and partied hard. And I used this bar, Rexy's, which, Flyer fans know about in South Jersey. It's where the Flyers hung after practice every day. They practiced in Cherry Hill. They went there afterwards. They went there after the game in the Spectrum because it was on the way home to the apartments they all lived in. And fans knew about it. Fans would go and hang out with them. And they were just normal guys at the bar. You would sit next to them. You'd see them eating dinner. You'd talk to them about the game you just watched at the Spectrum. And it just was like the Rexy's was like kind of the symbol for this team of these normal guys that were just people from the area. Just your neighborhood guys, in a sense, that played hockey and were the Broad Street Bullies. And it was just it's neat, like me. I was not there. I'm 35, so I was not born yet. But to let these guys take you back to like a different time and a different place that you just can't imagine this happening now. Not that athletes aren't accommodable, when you see them or anything like that. It's just the world has totally changed, where this would never happen again.
There were some great quotes in your story about Rexy's, and one that really resonated, because I think a lot of people, they identified with that Flyers group, not just because they won the Stanley Cup, but because of how they were constructed. And you mentioned it, what kind of attributes they look for. But I think it was Bobby Clark had the quote in your story and was talking about, hey, yeah, we'd be finishing up practice or a game, we'd go over there. So we're hanging out with the guys that are finishing their overnight shift, and they're grabbing their dinner at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And they saw themselves, the Flyers saw themselves as similar, because they also came from blue-collar, working-class families in Canada, and they never saw themselves as those kind of millionaire type of NHL hockey players. I thought that, and I think when people go back and they have these memories of those teams in the city's past, I think that's why it resonates so much more. Obviously, winning a cup is going to make it ring home, but I think because the guys really seem to view themselves as a Philadelphia type of player.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's exactly right. Like, and I said this to all these guys when I talked to them. I said, 50 years is a long time for people to still care about something. And yes, you guys won 2 Stanley Cups. That's great, but there's got to be more that you hold on to people for 50 years. And I think it's like you said, like, because they were normal people. You saw them in Avalon at the bar. You watched them play softball. They came to your barbecue after they played softball to drink your beer. And you went to the games, and it wasn't just going to a hockey game. It was going to an event. They sold out the Spectrum almost every night. They obviously had fights all the time. Like, it was a thing. And like I said, nobody knew what hockey was, but everybody fell in love with hockey. In South Jersey and South Philly, in the Northeast, in the suburbs. Like, everybody fell in love with hockey at the exact same time. So the whole region is all of a sudden loves this team, loves this sport. The kids are playing street hockey. It's just like a complete perfect storm for 50 years later, this team to still be a thing. And you talk about them being like normal guys. Bobby Clark is one of the greatest hockey players ever. Obviously, was the greatest flyer ever, but Hall of Fame hockey player. And I'm asking him, you were normal guys. And it was almost, he was like, yeah, and of course we're normal guys. He couldn't wrap his head around being anything else than that. And then the same with Bill Barber, which, another Hall of Fame hockey player, answers his phone right away. Doesn't know who I am. I'm just, I had found this number. Normal guy. And he said that Fred Shiro, the coach, who was, again, ahead of his time with the way he coached, and that's a whole other story, but he said to him, he said, where are you going this summer? Earlier after his rookie year, and he saw him going back up north to Canada. I have a mountain house or a lake house, a cottage. I just bought it. And he goes, well, I think it's important for you to be in the community and to be in the area. People see you out. And spend your summers in Philly. Don't run away. So the next summer, he sold his cottage to his brother, and he made Philadelphia his home, and he's been in Philly pretty much ever since. And that's the same for all these guys. Not all, majority of these pro Street Bullies, they found second careers in Philly as, real estate agents, insurance agents, landscapers. Like, they became part of the community. And so after 50 years, they never left. And that's another reason why they've been in your face for 50 years, that people love this team so much.
Talking to Matt Breen from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, on our Comcast Business Hotline. And, Matt, to that point, you bring up a great line. They taught this area hockey. Let's not forget that. This area did not have hockey. They were 7 years in expansion when they won that Stanley Cup, when they got the fans the way they were. But more than that, and I was lucky enough, they won their first Stanley Cup when I was getting my first Holy Communion the same day. But more than that, their style of play is what I wanted you to talk about a little bit, because, we look at I don't know, Steph Curry shooting a basketball, changing the style of basketball. We talk about the passing game in football, power game of baseball, whatever. They changed it in a way that hockey the NHL had never seen before. Talk about what the guys said about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's smart because, you talk about Steph Curry. Obviously the three-point shot has always been a part of the game, but Steph Curry and the Warriors took that and value and maximized it and took it to a different level. Just like fighting was always a part of hockey, yet the Flyers took fighting and they tripled down on it and made it their brand, and they intimidated you, and now that was a way that they won. But they weren't just goons. These weren't just, Dave Schultz is known, obviously, as, the hammer and the guy that, toughest guy on the team, and all he does is fight, but he scored one of the most important goals in Flyers history. Mm-hmm. The same guy that can punch in the face can also score a goal, and that's pretty much all these guys. Bob Kelly is a great player. He's also the Hound because of the way he fought. And everybody on that team, even Bobby Clark, which you don't see anymore. A top scorer is also a fighter. It's just Bobby Clark is a tough guy. Was he going to be getting a fight every night? No, but he could hold his own. So everybody on that roster, from top to bottom, really could play the game and also be tough enough to hold their own in a fight. Or obviously, Dave Schultz, will win a fight. So it was an interesting way to build a roster, and now there would be so much attention because we love the way that teams are constructed and general managers and stuff. But if you look back at that, again, ahead of its time, with a coach that went over to Russia to study how the Russians played hockey and came back with almost an analytical before analytics mindset, and a front office that looked at where they could get the value at the margins, and that was in fighting and in intimidation, and they went crazy in that direction, and it worked. So it's really, it wasn't just random that they became what they were. It was really a well thought out process.
And it's such a process, and you mentioned it, how you're trying to kind of look to the past to build things ahead, right? You have to, all right, that's what worked then. What can they do now? Because now those things wouldn't work. It's a completely different game across the board. But how much do you think the front office for the Flyers can rely on? Because there's two Flyers guys, right? And Keith Jones and Danny Briere. Those guys now in charge, they know the history here. They know where they've been. They know where they need to go. And they also have been around the league now. So when looking forward, this Flyers team needs a complete overhaul. One of the topics we've been talking about today is if you had to pluck another player, around the league and put him on whatever team, a Philadelphia team, and we all pick Connor McDavid. I think that's a pretty easy one. But do the Flyers need to have a complete, because that was something they made a concerted effort. All right, we need to have this, and this. We're going to get our coach on board. We're going to get all these players on board, and now we're made in this mold in the 1 and 2 cups. How much do the Flyers need that top to bottom now?
Yeah, definitely. And I believe they have that. I think if you look at Mishkov, and if Mishkov comes over this summer, and that's really the first significant move that this front office made, from Dan Hilferty to Keith Jones, Danny Briere, was drafting him. And that was a huge swing because a lot of teams, didn't think he was coming over for 5 years. And he would have been the first pick, a transcendent player. And the Flyers took a huge gamble. It looks like a gamble from the outside. But they probably did their intel. They gathered intel, gathered research into this kid. And I'm going to bet if this happens that, he comes over this summer, like it seems like it's moving that way, that they weren't caught by surprise. Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess they gathered enough intel to say that this actually had a chance to happen. And that is the kind of forward-thinking move that you go back 50 years ago. They were doing similar stuff. Obviously, they weren't drafting a Russian and taking a chance, but they were making moves like that. So that kind of stuff never changes. You need a Keith Allen in your front office. You need Fred Shero behind the bench. You need these smart guys, these smart hockey guys. And I do believe that the Flyers have that right now. Again, the proof is on the ice. It's in your record at the end of the day. But I think they are moving in the right direction. And Mishkov, I was racking my brain the other day of in my lifetime. You have obviously Eric Lindros, arbiter, and coming to the Flyers was huge. Jeremy Roenick, the trade, and like it's really since then. I think that this would be the biggest move since then, since they got Roenick.
Well, Matt, I hope everybody out there got to read your stories. If not, check it out because it was so good, and you really took me back. I've been lucky enough to become, know a lot of those guys on that team, and I have some stories that I'll tell on the air here. But we appreciate everything you did, Matt, with that story, and
always
look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks,
buddy.
Matt.
You take
Have a
care.
good
That
weekend.
was Matt Breen from Philadelphia Inquirer. So this is funny. I almost wish this week when I saw Matt was doing it, I almost wish that I could have done it. Like
The
wish
story
that
I
I
go
was
back to
asked.
rec season.
But because here's the story here. So I grew up in Cherry Hill. Matt mentioned how, and I told you earlier how my sisters babysat for Bernie Perron and for Gene Hart. Well, there was so behind my house, I would run through these woods. I would play at these basketball courts, outdoor basketball courts, like 24/7. That's just where I was all the time. And it was owned by this guy named Jim Corey, Dr. Jim Corey, who was a renowned weightlifter, had his own radio show, all that stuff. Well, all the Flyers used to go there all the time. I get older, I'm a kid. We also played street hockey back there because they had a thing, and it wasn't uncommon. Bobby Clark would come out there while we're playing basketball. Bob Daly, Bob Kelly, like those guys all the time. He mentioned Dave Schultz. Yeah. He lived around the neighborhood I live now. We used to drive our bikes around there all the time in hopes to get it. And when we did, he'd come out and talk to us. So it was great time. I get a little older. Bobby Clark takes over that gym that I went to all the time to play. Wow. It became Bob Clark's gym. I get a little older. I get into the profession, go to my editor. I said, hey, there's this gym, male-only gym. Bobby Clark owns, I was thinking of doing a story on. Do it. Go in, get into Clarky, and he knew I was coming, all that stuff. And he's like, look, just do me a favor. Don't sit here and just interview me. Talk to all the members. He's like, let those guys get their names in the paper and all that stuff. And it was just typical, stuff like that. My friends belonged to the gym. One of my friends, I think, became a little bit of an owner. We're tailgating an Eagles game one time. My cousin, who lives up in Connecticut, who was a big hockey guy, played hockey in college and stuff like that. Well, we're at the tailgate, and he's like, Bob, wait a minute. Is that Bobby Clark? I'm like, yeah, that's Clark. He's friends with, he's like, get the hell out of here. I'm in my glory. And he went over and he got such a kick out of talking to Clarky and having a couple beers and all that stuff.
Those guys are still that way.
I'm telling you, it's
still
a story. And I know there's a lot of people out there that I overage. You got to check it out because it was, Amy, it was Goonieism, however you want to label it, in a sport unlike we have ever seen. And they won 2 Stanley Cups.
Well, and that's the thing. I think Matt brought it up. These guys in goons, whatever you want to, there's a reason they were called the Bullies, but they were also very skilled. These are not guys. This is not, for those in recent history, it's not just a bunch of Dan Carcillos out there fighting people.
No.
That's not what they did. They would fight because they needed to, because they wanted to assert themselves. And there's guys that were, I'm going to win the fight.
Yeah.
Hound. There's a reason he was called the Hound. Bobby Clark, not a fighter, but could fight. Needed to. And he'll hold his own, as Matt said. But those guys, it was just the perfect compliment. But I like that they had, all right, this is what we're going to go do. We're going to send you a coach over here to learn exactly how this level, what they do, how that can translate here. Let's get these guys. It's a very concerted effort. And I think when you want to build a winner, as we're talking about building the Sixers and building the Flyers, you have to have an all-encompassing. There's a reason the Celtics keep trotting them out. It doesn't matter who the coach is.
Yeah.
It's because that's the culture. That's what they built there, and they have the whole idea.
I mean, it was an amazing, amazing thing to live through as a young kid, as learning hockey. Like, there's a phrase that Gene Hart taught Philadelphia hockey with his announcing, and he did.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Matt did a great job of talking about Freddie Shero, the coach back then, taking kind of analytics into it. And you think, oh, he was a coach of goons. Yeah, he was a coach of a team that beat the crap, literally, out of I've never seen such intimidation in my life. The way when that team took to the ice, and teams were afraid of them. I mean, literally afraid of them. Oh, yeah, and then they were skilled. You bring up Bobby Clark, MVP of the NHL more than a couple of times. I forget who they were. I think it might have been the Russians, but not when the Russians came here to play. But there was a story that there was somebody that did something, and Clark broke his ankle.
Oh.
Like, slashed him and broke his ankle. Now, dirty, whatever, I don't know. But that's like...
Defending his guy.
Yeah, that it is. It honestly is. And I encourage you, even if you're younger, even if you're not a hockey fan, it's an essence of sports story to me.
It's a story.
Of finding a way to win with a team in a way that was just unheard of. And you can compare it to, like, the Steph Curry and all that, but it was wild. It was crazy. And those parades were absolutely nuts. Jimmy in Coopersburg has a story about Bobby Clark. Jimmy, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that you're on the radio. It's good to hear an older, wiser kind of mentality with newspapers in your background. So
thank you, buddy. I'll take the older. I don't know about the wiser.
Definitely wiser. So, yeah, I worked at a country club up towards my way, and the Flyers would come every August. And I'm telling you, it's all about Mr. Clark, Mr. Holgram, Mr. Berube, that's the way we roll. And Mr. Clark was, I'm just Bob. And I'm like, oh, well, I have to call you Mr. Clark. Because, yeah, but I'm just Bob. When it's me and you, Jimmy, it's just Bob. That's all I am. And I go, yeah, me and my dad were such big fans and everything. My dad was just awestruck with him. And he wanted to talk about fishing more than he wanted to talk about hockey. And just the greatest guy, that whole group, and Coatsy on top of it. He is such a character and such a good man. Mm-hmm. Can't tell you what he did, but he just very, very kind, heard about somebody in need, and had the person come down, took care of everything, took him in the locker room, a young man who was having issues. And that whole group is unbelievable. So I appreciate you allowing me to share.
Oh, absolutely.
That's good stuff right there.
Appreciate you calling. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. It was so different. And like I said, I do encourage you to read, because I'm fascinated by sports stories that I don't know. And even if I wasn't around, like I'm never, I say this all the time, Mame, I always want to learn. Callers always teach me something. People that you talk to, maybe in an arena, like you talked about before, you're at Home Depot and somebody says hi, and you start talking sports, and you're like, oh, I like the way they look at things. I always love that. I encourage you to read this, because it was absolutely fascinating that this team that at first glance you're like, oh, yeah, bunch of hoodlums on that team. Yeah, they won hockey games. And Matt Breen brought up about Dave Schultz maybe scoring one of the biggest goals. I'm pretty sure it was against the Rangers. He might have an overtime against Atlanta. But he also, I think, had a playoff hat trick. A guy that just pummeled people when he fought them. It was a fascinating time, a fascinating story. And one of the greatest quotes ever to come out of Philadelphia was by Fred Shero. And it was, I think he put it on the board before they played Boston in Game 6. And it was, win today, walk together forever. That's pretty cool.
That's a great one.
And it's something those guys carried
Classic.
around with them for the rest of their lives. So,
True.
Matt Breen, we appreciate it. We went down a different alley there, but that's what sports is
I like
here in
it, though.
Philadelphia. Yeah. When we get back, we'll hit on some more Sixers stuff because I do want to talk to Amy about the building process a little bit because there's a lot of it that has to go on. I also have – I'm not a negative guy, Amy. I'm not. I want to ask you a question about the Phillies because I think this is an inevitable thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's not. It's just a realistic thing, okay? It's not pessimistic. It's realistic.
All right.
We'll get to all that and more. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. 1:30 here at the Fanatic Middays, getting you ready for Tyrone. You can stay, Ty.
Yeah.
We're getting you ready for Tyrone,
I'm good.
Ricky, and Silvana as we're having a lot of fun conversation. Great to talk to Matt Breen. A little like off the tracks there, talking about the Flyers Stanley Cup teams of 50 years ago, but it's such a great story. And then I go on to my Twitter feed, and I'm like, wait a minute.
And what does it say? What did you find?
What's this? I get a thing that says, to correct Bob Cooney and Ray Dunn, not wanting Bronny for Bron is not the same thing as not wanting LeBron James. That is from one John Kincade. Okay, I'm sorry. I could have sworn that I read and heard that John said, you absolutely are not winning a championship with LeBron James. I think it was put out there on our Twitter thing. I know I heard him say it. So, and therefore, in my head, that's you not wanting LeBron James. So if I misconstrued, I don't know. Ray, I'll speak for myself. I will not speak for you.
No, I'm going to call back up what it was because I went back and looked once we got that tweet. I was like, wait a second. I had thought that he did not want LeBron. I know he wasn't on the Bronny for Bron thing. And there are some people that are not on the Bronny for Bron. I'm like, okay, you don't want to draft Bronny because you don't think Bronny's going to be a player. You don't want to do that for Bron. But this was where I took that he was not in on LeBron James because from when they were debating this, I think it was last week, do I think you're going to win anything with LeBron? No. We want a parade, right? We are not having a parade getting LeBron. We are absolutely not winning a title with LeBron. I don't believe as a team they're going to be deep enough, which to me seems to be.
Wait, who's that from?
That was from John.
Oh.
That was I'm going right back to the Twitter account because I want to make sure that we got it right. So if in that stance, he still would welcome LeBron James despite not believing they're going to win a title, then I could take the correction. I just went from listening to that last week and then going to call it back up here when he tweeted us. I just want to make sure we're getting it right here because that sounded like he didn't want LeBron. I didn't think I was speaking out of turn for him.
No, it seems a little confusing,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. He's trying to set the record straight. So he would want LeBron? I feel like that's. I didn't think that.
I don't. My head is spinning a little bit.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, but it's okay.
It's all right.
Speaking of Twitter.
Speaking of.
Something
yes,
we got into earlier
please.
that I want my own personal information on, like my own personal data on. I put out a poll on my own account asking how many different phone numbers you have memorized with the options 0, 1 or 2, 3 to 5, or 6+.
Wait, you put out your own poll?
Yeah.
God, he is just unbelievable.
Well, I didn't put it out on the Middays account because I didn't want the people, this is what sports talk radio has become, so I just put it out on my own.
You are above and beyond. I think the list that we're going to make tomorrow is the superlatives that we can give to Ray. But go ahead. Well, how did your poll turn out?
1% of people are saying they have just 0 phone numbers memorized. So 1 or 2 got 28%, 3 to 5, 48%, and then 6+ at 23%. So people have 3 to 5 memorized.
Yeah, that's what.
Interesting.
I'm in the 1 or 2 camp.
You know what? You brought up the number 610. Now, phone numbers memorized. Current, I'm very, very low. If you go old school, like phone numbers growing up,
but things
my
you
phone
don't
number
need
at
to
the
news.
Daily News,
Yeah.
like all of those things, I probably have 50 to 100 memorized that way. Like, I remember how I remembered my now wife when we started dating, her phone number, I equated it to 2 Eagles.
Yeah, that's good.
You
I
know
do that
what
with
I
my
mean?
driver's license.
And I
plates.
still have it. Yeah,
My
exactly,
license
right?
plates. I look
My
at
brother, who was close to 10 years older than me, started driving when I was 10 years old. His first license plate was 191ENE. Why do I remember that? I have no idea. But that's the God's honest truth.
And why would you ever need to remember that?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
I literally was like 10 years old when he, probably younger,
Good
when he
number
started driving, and I remember his first license
Right.
plate. Like, the mind is so crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, but that's why we love it. That's why it's all so true to us. Uncle Frank, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Frank?
Happy Hump Day, squad. I wasn't going to call him today, but Bobby, you got me waxing whimsically about the Flyers. So, oh, by the way, Jim Correa, he was the weightlifter, and wasn't he the Eagles' strength coach?
I don't know if he was or not. When I was a kid, he was the guy that owned that gym. That was also, he got like a radio gig later on, and yes, was a weightlifting guru back then.
Yeah, and he also had a sports camp in Jersey that I went to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a big dude with them. But yeah, I'm
Flyer story.
Flyers.
You had a Flyer
Got it.
story, Frank.
I know. What a team, Amy.
I'm
All right.
sorry.
We're
Trying to
helping
help
you.
you.
No. So the second parade title they won, the second parade anyway, I think we were juniors. I don't know. We skipped school, took the train down. It was hot. I was in a sweater at the top of Franklin Field, leaning over the wall, emptying all the Southern comfort out of my system. And that's why I'm waxing whimsically today.
All right. Well,
Okay.
that wasn't the Flyer story I was anticipating, Frank, but we appreciate it.
Drank SoCo
He-
at the second parade after skipping school.
Yeah.
I think it brought him back to a good time. He was waxing. He said whimsical.
Whimsical. Yeah.
He liked the alliteration with waxing whimsical rather than waxing poetic.
Big alliteration guy.
Yeah.
Big alliteration.
That's why he is the quote
He's
coach.
Coach Quote.
Coach Quote.
Coach Quote. But as someone that continues to grade the Uncle Frank calls,
Today was bad.
All
Today
right.
was a 2 out of 10.
Uncle Frank, I need you to wrap it all together with the
Yeah.
story. Okay?
We didn't know where you were going.
We appreciated the SoCo knowledge. Someone else I know at this station, Andrew Salciunas, was a big fan of the old SoCo.
The
So
SoCo?
that
Oh.
I could see why him and Uncle Frank get along so well. But I need a little bit more from you on that one. I just
Yeah.
that could be better.
Whenever you, Frank, just a little mouth editorial advice. Whenever you find yourself saying, "Oh, and by the way," or if you find
Yeah.
yourself using a little quote that takes you in a different direction, don't do it.
Just stop.
Yeah, just stop. Erase that from your memory. Stay on track. Because I thought he probably would have had a really good Flyer story because that was like his alley
Yeah.
back
And
then.
it's cool to know that he was at that
At the
parade.
second parade.
And it was at Franklin Field. And, honestly, I am fine with him giving us the little piece of the fact that he had a lot of SoCo
SoCo.
that day, and he had to empty it out of his system at some point.
Yes.
We just needed the point at the end there,
Like,
where
like,
we
where it wrapped
celebrated
it
the
up.
Flyers
Right.
together. Maybe I'm texting my buddies talking about this. Thank you so much, Bob and Amy, for bringing this to
Yeah.
light today. You got to be able to wrap it up. We never hit the punchline of that story, Uncle Frank.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a little bit more out of you.
Now, yesterday he was like a 9.5 out of 10.
He was
We deemed it maybe
tremendous.
one of his best ever.
Great call.
Tremendous.
And it's tough because to get into the Hall of Fame, you got to bring it every day.
Every day.
And, Frank's climbing the ladder, but today he kind of got stuck on a rung, maybe even went back down a rung.
We had him as Midday's Call of the Year for last year, and he's being held to that standard. Okay, this is
fair
not an
enough.
up and coming caller. This is a caller that's been there before. I need a higher performance out of you.
Fair enough. There's so many stories that pop through my mind going back to being a little kid when the Flyers won that cup. So the first parade they went, it was ridiculous. 2 million people, I think. I still have the newspapers from it and all. But they're doing the caravan or what do you call it with the cars going down and stuff like that. Yeah.
Parade of cars?
Well, yeah.
It is a caravan, I guess.
Okay. So it's going down and it's slow moving because there's just so many people. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And everybody's like, oh, what the hell? Bernie Perron climbs out of one of the cars, goes and knocks on one of the row houses that's along the route and says, I'm sorry, but can I use your bathroom? And, so Bernie, they asked about it later. He's like, I had to pee. I don't know what to tell you, but you got to go. You got to go.
Gotta go.
So that was great. There were shirts that went around there back at that time. The only thing, God is the only thing that saves more than Bernie.
Yes.
You're like, it was just such
I miss
a
things
time.
like that. The earth is covered by 70% water. The rest is Gary Maddox.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Stuff
was.
like that. We don't see stuff like that
No,
anymore. That's
it was
fun.
different.
That's
Yeah.
fun stuff. You don't see fun slogans.
And the relatability that the guy, I guess it was William, was talking about earlier about how they're just guys and, call me Bob, don't call me
Right.
Mr. Clark
Oh,
and
Jimmy.
all.
It was Jimmy in Coopersburg.
Jimmy, I'm sorry. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I'm not kidding. My friends would call and tell we would play outdoor basketball there, and it wouldn't be uncommon. I told the story of Wilbert Montgomery coming there one time and giving me a ride home, which was I'll never forget. But it wasn't uncommon to play basketball with pro athletes or being there playing stick hockey. Or street hockey, because they had a little racquetball thing, a wall that you could hit the ball against, but it was enclosed by a cage. And we would put nets at each end, and we would play street hockey in there. And Bob Daly, I'll never forget this, running around the track and going, you got to play better D than that. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And you would see those guys around all the time. And somebody brought up the Bryce Harper stuff of, I wish more athletes were like that. I think they are. I think
they'd
athletes
like to be.
generally, yeah.
I think they'd like
But
to
it's
be.
harder these days.
It's harder. There's a lot more, I don't want to say unknown because I feel like that takes on a negative connotation, but you can't put yourself out there in ways that you could back in certain days. right?
Yeah.
You can't just walk up to you, but you still see it. You see these guys. We all live in areas where you see them. If their kids are playing in the playground, you go to maybe your kids go to school nearby or play against them, and you look across the way and you think, oh, my kids. Oh, great, no, that's so and so's kid that's playing against my kid. You see them, but I feel like there's a lot more trepidation or at least standoffish on fans' part to a certain degree because you
Right.
just don't want to bother them.
Yeah, exactly.
Back then, there's just like, no, I don't. Of course you're at my watering hole, so
Yeah.
we're gonna share a beer together.
Yeah, and Rexy's is a great place. We used to go to lunch there a couple of years ago. My buddy and I went to lunch there a lot. It's a really, really good place, and that was special. Like, they own South Jersey because that's where they all lived, and But a story like that, I do encourage you to read it because a city not only winning championship but learning a sport. And learning what it was like, that was just a pretty special time. As I said, I was a little kid, but I was lucky enough that I had older brothers and brother and sisters, and my dad and all. They were very into it and saved all the newspapers, and I was able to see it through their eyes. And the guy Jimmy mentioned, Keith Allen, that was an executive with the Flyers who was friends with my father, Keith. He used to always call him Keith, called himself Keith Allen. But it was just a special, special time, and it doesn't matter to me how old you are. If you didn't see it, read about it, learn about it. It's really, really a good story. Okay, when we get back, we're going to wrap this all up. Tomorrow, I want to let you know that Amy's going to be working Philly, so Ray and I are going to be in this studio. That's right. Ray is making the move in from producer. He's going to be my running mate tomorrow. We'll have some Yingling in there to produce or whatever. Not as good as you do, Ray, but somebody else will be producing, so that's what we'll have tomorrow. On Friday, Amy will be back with Ray.
Yes, I will.
As I will be having the day off on Friday. It's you and Ray or you and Ray?
Me and Ray on
Okay.
Friday.
All right, good.
That's
so
me.
that's what we have coming up. What we have coming up also is we're going to finish this thing out as we get you ready for the best show ever. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Finishing out here on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon as I look outside, feel the warmness coming through the window, Aim. It's going to be a great few days.
Beautiful.
I have a feeling when I see you next week, we'll both probably be a little tanner than we are right now. Be careful out there. We
Sunscreen.
don't, sunscreen all the time. Yes. Take care of yourselves. We've seen too many friends that have suffered from that. So make sure you do take care of yourself, obviously, and your kids. But we hope everybody has a terrific, I'm looking a little too far ahead, saying I hope everybody has a terrific weekend. But for many, me included, right? Okay, I'll say it, me included. Tomorrow is my last day of the week. Looking very much forward to that. Got to tell you that the 1 o'clock sponsor, it's brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. Now, I used the word beef, Aim, and Ray, he didn't scold me.
Okay.
He corrected me that he doesn't have a beef. I said, is it an observation? How should we deem it? He said, just throw it to me. I'll take care of it. So, Ray, the floor is yours.
Yeah, coming up next, you got the best show ever. While we're, this hour, we're talking with John and the Bron conversation. So while we're just in the midst of this entire station back and forth, we got the best show ever coming up at 2 o'clock. Just got a chance to talk to Ricky down the line. He's all set up, good to go. Excited to hear what he has to say. Tyrone came in here. We had a nice conversation. Silvana's been walking around. But Silvana put up a poll on her Instagram story that she has 10-second song today again on the best show ever, and she needs to get 8 right. And the question is, will she be successful? I don't know if you caught it last week. I put my entire life savings on the under.
She didn't get Prince, Purple Rain, or something like that.
Raspberry Beret.
That was actually, that was tough.
Yeah, that was.
There was a couple of tough ones.
Ray and I both scolded her for that.
There were a couple tough ones put in there. But she had a poll up that said, will I be successful? The early vote after last week's performance, 60% of people were saying yes.
They believe in Silvana.
Yeah. And I just got to say, we need some honesty from our listeners. Let's 60% not there.
Let's break this down.
Wait, Ty just came.
All right, Ty, give Ray a number about how many. Come on in. All right, let's get Ty in on
He's
this
on
then.
3.
Yeah, if you can, turn on his mic. So, Ty, I have to break this down mathematically. About how many 10-second songs opportunities do you give during a show?
If everything goes perfectly, there's 24 available.
Okay.
All right.
So Silvana has to get a third of them
She's
right.
looking for 8. Is that our over-under? What are we setting the over-under
No. She's required to get 8 because, she doesn't.
She's so
I'm not
far
going to tell
down.
her the theme.
Right.
She must get 8. If she can't get 8 this week,
that's it.
There's no hope.
All right.
So is there ramifications should she not reach that 8 this week? Because that would be 2 straight weeks of bad showings.
Yes, it'll end the segment.
Wow.
That is a ramification. Wow.
We will do something else on Wednesdays for the rest of time on the best show ever if she can't get 8 today.
Oh, wow. Talk about pressure.
Wow.
That's like bases loaded, 2 outs World Series pressure.
I feel like the people that are voting on her poll do not know the consequence of her not getting 8.
Or did not listen a week ago when she was trying to get songs the first time.
She didn't get any last week.
She didn't get. She got 0? Who the hell came up with 8? Her?
Me.
Oh, it's
Because
exactly what she has to do.
She doesn't know the theme. But if she can't get these.
Have you set her up for
success? It's a favorable theme for her.
I've set her up for success. It would be like if I was doing sports trivia and I started with Kentucky.
Dominate. Let's go.
You're right. If I said, all right, let's start Kentucky basketball.
Name Kentucky basketball players.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good.
I'm sniffing out like Disney theme songs or something like that. Or
it's
Taylor
even more
Swift?
obvious for this. And then that's for half of the songs. Then the other half are infinitely gettable.
Okay. Well, I
Because
would have thought Raspberry Beret would have been.
I asked her during the week about what music her parents listened to.
Okay.
That's the other hint.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, then maybe
her
the
parents
60%,
are around my age, so yeah. All right.
the
So I might have some
60% might be
success on
okay.
this today.
Oh, that 8.
Maybe I'll have to get still on my text messages every time, and as soon as it starts playing, bam! Maybe I'll be her lifeline.
Yeah, you can't
No,
do
they've
Why?
had cheating like that before.
Yes, they
You
have.
don't want her to succeed.
I want her to succeed, but she should succeed on her own merit.
Okay. All right. So you just brought up, and I talked earlier about the little back and forth that we were kind of misunderstood with John Kincade. John has sent me a text message. Do you think text messages are meant to be over air or anything like that, Ray?
I mean, I think you've
go
had
to your
this
judgment.
conversation with other people that would prefer their text messages don't go over the air. So
Okay, I won't do it.
yeah.
So John explained himself to me in a text message about Ray and I not fully understanding which way he was going. John, I hope you get out of traffic. He says he's stuck in some nasty traffic, but your text confused me even more, if I'm being honest. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. But no, it's all good. It's all fun. That's what we do here, and we love it. So Phillies tonight, Aim. Like,
Back at it. We wanted to see how they would look against the Rangers. Oh, world champs. All right. Look pretty good against the Rangers.
Oh, Amy gave it the world
But you know,
champs.
people are always like, oh, look at them. Like, this is finally they're playing competition. All right. They did it. You just wonder when people they have been naysayers, but people that have been not fully, like, all in because of the schedule, at what point do they say, maybe this team is really good?
They better.
When they sweep the Rangers?
I don't know why. So it was one of the questions I teased that I'll pose to you right now real quick before we have to get out of here. What's the one thing that you think, and this isn't a bad thing, it's just an obvious question, could come back to earth a little bit for the Phillies? One of the soonest things that may come back to earth a little bit.
It doesn't take it out. It feels like it could take a negative connotation.
No, not at all, because it's they're playing 7-07 baseball. That equates to 113 wins.
Maybe it's that. Maybe the ability to close out game. But I don't know. No, I won't go. That's not fun. Ranger. It means either Ranger or Alec Boehm for me. Those are the two that are flying the highest. I don't want either of them to come back down.
Right.
But I guess if I had to choose one, the Ranger going, I had like 20
So
seconds.
second part, they'll come back down a little bit because that's natural. Ranger Suarez isn't going to go undefeated. I don't think Alec Boehm's going to hit 335. Does it affect the team?
No.
See, my thoughts exactly.
Boom.
That's why she's in that seat. That's why Ray Dunn is going to try to replace Amy in that seat
No, he's
tomorrow.
you tomorrow.
No.
Oh, no.
He's you tomorrow.
And then
I'm
Friday,
me.
yes.
We got Spider-Man going on here. I'm me. Ray is
You're
you.
you.
What is
Somebody
my
is
role?
going to be Ray. We
You're-
just
you're
don't
me
know who.
tomorrow.
I have
Stay
no idea
tuned
what's
for the
going
best
on.
show
Friday,
ever.
you're him.
Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you tomorrow.